Hello, welcome to the RWBY podcast. I am the broken score that plays when you enter the Temple of Time in Breath of the Wild. I'm Mediocrity 4.
Someone needs to call the police because Rooster Teeth just robbed me of 5 years of the biggest confrontation that was been built up since the beginning of this series. It's Rob. Someone help. Someone call the police, please. That's me, high powered. It hurts. My wallet's empty. It's gone.
You know it's a bad episode when I think it's the worst episode in the history of the show, and Ozpin/Oscar didn't even do anything wrong. I am Dude, what the heck?
And it looks like Cinder fell from grace. I'm Sakukard.
You know that's the reason why they did it, right?
You know they
Why
could
they
That
made
say
it
was the
what
whole
it
pun
is.
of this episode.
you could say that she fell like most of the temperatures across the United States right now.
He's a stone cold killer.
Except for in California, where yesterday it was 87 degrees out.
Gross.
Yeah.
Ew.
I was not happy about it, trust me, but yeah.
And when they talk about the fifth of 5 pissed off dudes in this podcast, they're talking about me, Robert.
Yeah,
Just-
it's-
All right,
And
so
I just finished.
to let
I just finished
everyone
watching
know.
Gurren Lagann, by the way. You couldn't tell.
I'm ready for this one.
You are
Here,
ready.
here, let me do this real quick.
I got grape juice.
so can
Closest I get to alcohol.
So first thing I want to do, and then we're gonna pass it off to Dude for a bit. I want to qualify what we mean by how bad this episode is. There's a difference between like nitpicks and actual legit structural problems. When I'm making my reviews, if I don't catch something by the second time I watch it, I'm not even going to address it. Even if I find it on the third or fourth time, like when I'm finding the screen grabs for our podcast and for my reviews, I'm not even going to address it because the average consumer, the average person, is not going to notice anything. If I don't notice it within 2 viewings, the average person isn't going to find them either. So those aren't problems. Those could be like technical issues or whatever, but those aren't actual problems. So your mileage may vary, but there's a difference in quality as far as like, okay, is something actively bad or is something just kind of pointless? For me, a pointless episode is worse than an episode that is actively bad, but when something in an episode undercuts everything that the show is trying to do, that is the biggest problem a show can have, and there is quite a bit of that in this episode. So I'm going to pass it off to Dude. He's going to list off some things that are wrong, and he's also going to give his thoughts on last week's episode since he wasn't here last week.
Starting with thoughts on last week's episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So starting with thoughts
Yeah.
on last week's episode, I watched some of the podcast, and you guys were overall a bit more positive than I was on it. It wasn't specifically, for the most part, it wasn't specifically a truly terrible episode. But it's, I mean, as we mentioned before the podcast started, it's now even more bad by association now because of how just wretchedly bad this episode was. But it still wasn't very good. It still had a lot of little problems that I thought were annoying. Again, Oscar just being able to hit Lionheart and knock him all the way down the stairs. Like, how? Like, this does not make any sense that he's able to do that so easily, and Lionheart is such a fucking pushover as a fighter. It doesn't make sense that he was able to become a headmaster like that and get his ass kicked by a little kid that easily, even if he has Ozpin like inside of him or whatever. It doesn't really make sense. Another problem I have is the confusing nature of how Jean's healing works. I know people are still kind of debating whether or not it's a semblance even after this week's episode.
It
That's not
is
even
a
the problem.
semblance.
I know. I don't even care about that. Whatever it is.
We should have
The
gotten this
whole-
last volume.
The one should have gone last volume. Should have gone it 2 volumes ago because it's really not that big of a deal.
Biggest
And
reveal of the volume. Woo.
the other thing is that, to me, I don't know if this bothers anybody else, but to me, Ruby, while he's touching Weiss and like healing her and saving her life, Ruby
Yeah.
grabbing his hands and picking them up off. What the actual fuck?
That
If,
was
you know,
one,
it's
that was
not,
one of those
not,
moments that
dude. It's
yes,
not
it's
just you.
bad, but it's like funny bad.
Everyone
Yeah.
has to have a problem with that.
Everyone,
Because I've watched a lot of reactors.
I just kind of laughed at it. I was like,
It's like, I don't want you stealing my John.
Like,
And-
I don't know.
That's all I
Maybe
could
she
think.
was like looking at the wound to see what he was to like get a better look. But
But then
yeah,
he
it's
put his
like,
hands back on. It's like he's still like magically hover healing her.
yeah, that was weird.
Not okay
yeah.
with that. Not okay with that. I did like Hazel's thing of that he can like inject dust crystals into himself and like
Yeah.
be a badass. But the reasoning is fucking stupid, and that was a major fucking letdown with his character. Not okay with that at all. Like
You
he
mean
just
his motivation?
Yeah, his
or-
motivation just makes him the dumbest idiot. And there's a lot of dumbass idiots in this show now. And it's like, that guy who seemed cool. We were all so intrigued by Hazel. He was the calm guy. Like, he seemed smarter than everybody else. He
Yeah.
seemed to have more of a head on his shoulders than everybody else. And he had some pretty massive shoulders, so that was pretty impressive at the time. And then it's just
You
huge
could
letdown.
say he's a big guy.
Yeah, that was a massive fucking letdown, and that's a big fucking problem, I feel like. What else?
Where the fuck is Watson Tyrion?
Where the fuck are Watson Tyrion? What are they doing this time? Now, the one thing I did kind of think was interesting, but not as big of a deal as they thought it was the reveal that Cinder or the Fall Maiden or the Spring Maiden was actually Raven. That does raise some questions, and I'm sure that could be interesting. But I feel like the way they revealed it, they thought like that was, oh my god, but it's like, yeah, but everything else is so bad that we don't really care that much about that.
Yeah,
So,
that Volume 5 poster makes a whole lot more sense now, doesn't it?
it does, but it's still like, well, you're not saving everything else. And the other problem again, why is Oscar able to kick Hazel's ass so easily? And like, he's tiny. How is he able to throw him around when
Yeah.
Crow is still getting his fucking ass kicked and he can't do shit to Hazel?
okay, so
I blame the stick. The stick's broken.
we had the same problems. We just kind of drew the line between good and bad at different zones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because to me that
I drew it at the 40-yard line. You drew it at like the 30-yard line.
because to me overall that still made it basically a bad episode. I
Yeah.
think, and I think maybe I'll be honest. Even I don't want to be overly critical of like your guys' opinion on the episode, but I want to say, and it's easier for me to say now, given how wretchedly, disgustingly terrible this current episode was. But I think partly why it didn't seem as bad, maybe to some people, was that it was slightly less bad than a lot of the rest of this truly terrible volume.
That's
So
probably
maybe that's
fair.
part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't episode 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Or
wasn't
7.
or 7,
Yeah.
or 13. So we're going to talk about all these things in depth, or at least I want to talk about all these things more. But please, let's not, without interruption, let me go through just to talk to you guys, everybody watching, just how terrible this episode was. Here's a list of all the terrible things that happened in this episode, and I might not have even hit all of them. So after no improvements are shown from the training sessions, and how we actually talked about how it seemed like the heroes have actually gotten worse since they're off screen of their training montage, now all of a sudden they awkwardly show that Ruby knows how to headbutt people.
And I think they actually use the same
Yeah.
animation.
Yeah, and they think that like that alone, yeah, and they think that alone justifies the training arc, and it's like, see, she did learn something. Oh, good, she learned how to.
No, it's still the
Straighten
late
up.
head, but Oscar gave her.
I just said we're gonna talk about these things more. Let me
Okay,
just
yeah,
go down the
sorry,
list.
go ahead, go
Let
ahead,
me
go
just-
ahead, go ahead.
You're not wrong.
Sorry.
But let me just go down the list. So is it Jean's semblance or not? Because it's dumb that they're making that, they're trying to confuse us with that. Angry Nora is cool and all, but, and the supercharged thing is cool, but I just need them to go down. That is the most awkward. It's so bad. That awkward line.
The line delivery was terrible.
She's 18 years old.
I think
She
that's
should-
director
She's
problem
eight-
because
yeah,
she's a good
it's-
voice actor. The line
She is a
isn't
good
that
voice actor.
bad. It's like
Yeah.
No, the line is
last
bad.
it's like the last line from last week's episode, but that one it was the acting or possibly the direction.
The line
But
is
the
bad
dir- yeah.
because an 18-year-old is not going to say that. An 18-year-old that's angry, that's protecting her husbando, is going to say die or fuck off or anything else besides go down.
Get memed, kid, as
A
that.
12-year-old would not say go down. Okay?
Yeah,
Guys,
was an
gotta
18-year-old.
keep it PG.
Yeah,
But that's
it's better if she just
but they
said,
can
like,
say die. They can say die. That's why it's fucking
Yeah.
bullshit.
I just
Um,
need him to break.
Another
something.
yeah.
That
Yes,
would've
that's
been
better.
good.
Thank you, Sock.
That
That's better
would've
too.
been good.
Another thing, how long have Adam and the White Fang just been standing there? Also, why are there so few White Fang members?
Yeah.
He had more at Beacon, and now he's the leader of the White Fang, and he's
This is a terrible.
Holy crap!
All right,
You're
okay,
right.
okay. Another thing, again, this is still a continuation of previous problems. How did Crow get his ass kicked so easily? That just doesn't make any sense. How long were all of them there, and how long were all of those people from Blake's from Menagerie there, and how are they expected to actually do anything? By the way, when they actually fight, they don't actually do anything. So what was the point? As I complained previously, what was the point of her recruiting them? Absolutely nothing. Also,
Whenever they just called the police.
also, really, fucking cops? Now we actually have cops in the show, and they said do something? Really? Also, that random White Fang guy is the worst voice actor in the history of this show.
I think
Wait,
that was.
wait,
I,
are
that
you
was
talking
literal-
about Adam?
No,
no, the guy
yes.
before that.
But no, that was literally the art director, Pat Rodriguez. I
It's
think,
still
or
terrible.
not Paco Vasquez, or I'm blanking on the name. It's something like
It's
that
also
though. It's
it's
literally
terrible.
their art director though.
It's still terrible.
Yeah.
Adam
So now
losing-
the White Fang has
Adam-
qualms about hurting their fellow faunists.
Yeah, exactly. Adam losing that easily. I mean, Adam, let's just be honest. Adam, that's the biggest letdown of the entire show, and that alone has ruined the entire series. How did White stab him when he's so powerful and be able to grab him back, even with her cool?
Oh yeah, Hazel.
That doesn't make any sense. Emerald's dive is absolutely fucking retarded and pathetic, and Mercury grabbing her arm. What the actual fuck? He's a kicking fighter. Raven killing Cinder, as good as that fight was, is a massive letdown. Now it's bad either.
Yeah, she's not dead.
It's bad either way. Even if she's not dead, the problem is that they've done the 3 times in this volume now. Just this volume, they've done it looks like this character's dead and now they're not thing, and they can't keep doing that. So that's also not okay. And even if it is still Raven being defeated by being the one to defeat Cinder, even if she's not dead, is still a problem. That's not what we wanted, okay? As cool as the fight was. And, of course, there's still a ton of choreography and character placement issues in this volume, in this episode. So that's all the stuff I have. I'm sure there's actually technically more problems, but that's a lot. And it's just the number. It's the severity of almost all of these.
Like,
Yeah.
someone told me this on the Discord, like, hey, finally someone who actually like looks for these details. Like, I don't look for these kinds of details.
Yeah.
I'm not Max Lampy.
Yeah.
I don't go out of my way to look for the animation errors, but oh my god, and I have a video.
But they
I have a
stand out
video
like a
coming
sore thumb.
It'll be up before this podcast is up. So, but it isn't up as we're
So
recording. This. But
with all
I
that
do have
said,
a short video I already have recorded of me just going like frame by frame on one little bit in particular where when the only time Adam swings his sword and Blake like subs in the clone, she subs out into the pathway
into the path of the sword. Yeah.
And gets like then the sword like phases through her still. And then she does the
Yeah, I was gonna point that out.
Like
Does the double hammer? Does the double hammer fist?
Axe handle,
yeah,
or whatever it's called.
I don't know what it's
hammer
called.
hand or whatever it is. You know,
and
the
then
stuff
Adam
you
goes
could do in
down-
MMA, but not in boxing.
Yeah. And then then Adam goes down and doesn't get back up for the rest of the episode. 5
Yeah,
years
okay.
of build up.
So-
5
Yeah.
I've been robbed.
years
Robbed.
of build up.
even if
Like,
he's
what
not
happened?
actually down and there is a fight afterwards, I don't care. It's still not all right. It's still not
Yeah.
salvageable.
They-
So
They
with all
could have
those things said-
extended. Yeah, they
With
could
all
have
those things
extended.
said, we'll touch on all those things. But I think we should get the couple of tiny positive things out of the way first. I think
Yeah.
because
All
there's
right,
not
so-
much.
Okay.
So here's a few thoughts. Here's the positives. So I like John's semblance. I like how John's semblance is basically him boosting and turbocharging other people's aura. That's cool. I'm
Yeah.
It's
perfectly fine.
literally what it is in Grim Eclipse, but
Yeah.
I mean,
But
whatever.
that's okay. That's
And
Grim
it,
I
Eclipse
guess
was
the game's
supposed to
canon now.
be.
And
It's
if-
always been canon, but yeah.
and it fits his personality too. So that's
Ren's
actually I'm good
teleportation
with that.
notwithstanding.
Yeah, other than Ren teleporting, it's mostly canon. So
then
Maybe he's
again,
just
I mean-
moving really fast.
yeah. And it's more useful than
Schrodinger's
just healing injuries. So
yeah, and Schrodinger's flaw with RWBY is that there's this Schrodinger's cat thing with animation errors in RWBY. Like, okay, is it actually an animation error, or are they trying to actually do something?
yeah,
Oh, you mean like how Ren's like body and like neck separate and just like spaghetti for a
Oh
period
no,
of time?
that's just an animate. That's just having fluid animation and then actually like finding a frame in between the keyframes. Like that, you
Yeah.
have to look for that kind of stuff. And I actually kind of
So-
I actually kind of like finding stuff like that. Like that's a
Yeah.
plus.
So I will personally say, so John's semblance is cool. I like how it works out. I feel that it will definitely. We should have gotten this a lot earlier than when we got it. Should have gotten this in Volume 4. Definitely would have liked it. Like oh hey, like
should have had him
maybe
should have had him
okay,
use it to keep Crow alive,
yeah,
like
use
after
it
the
to
Nuklave
stable-
fight.
Like
Like,
yeah,
that would have
after
been the
the
perfect-
Nuklave fight ends, there's like a minute of them like John's trying to stabilize Crow.
Oh crap, we're losing him, and then Jean uses his semblance. That would have been a lot more impactful and stuff like that. It's like, okay, we just closed down on Ren and Nora's story. Now we get this nice little bit with Jean, and we're good. We're done.
It would have helped Ruby's part too, because she would have been like right next to there crying her heart out, just like, and John can imagine himself in her place once again.
Yeah,
Like,
and
yeah,
that could have
about
been a
to see someone
perfect
she loves.
motivation for him to activate his semblance.
Yeah,
So the Raven versus Cinder fight I enjoyed thoroughly. if you- Yeah, if you remove the context of this fight and just if this was a random YouTube video that was uploaded between two female anime characters fighting each other,
Yeah.
this was like in comparison to all the other fights in RWBY, this is like one of the top 3. Like it's that good.
yeah, like
I don't
they're
know about
It was
like
a good-
console level animation stuff. It was like, oh cool, that's yeah.
You,
They're like,
you know what it reminds us
jump-
of? It reminds us of Monty. It's Flash, but it doesn't really have the substance that
It's
we
actually
should
got
have.
a lot more emotion than a
Yeah.
lot of Monty's fight. Like I remember
Yeah.
the first time I watched extracurricular. Like this is always my go-to example for how poor a lot of Monty's fight scenes were. Was the Pura versus Team Cardinal and Pura versus Mercury fight from Volume 2. That
Yeah.
went
Pure
like back
versus
to back.
Mercury?
Yeah.
Yang versus Mercury?
No, Pura
No,
versus
Pura.
Mercury.
She fights him
yeah,
in.
yeah,
Oh
Volume two.
yeah, that's
Volume two.
right. I forgot. Man, my blood alcohol level's
And
rising real
like
quick.
if you go like frame by frame on that, like Pura's expression doesn't change throughout the entire fight. It's just all the entire time. And there's not that like that's always been my biggest problem with with a lot of Monty's like choreography and stuff is that it's just two lifeless action figures being banged together.
Yeah.
It doesn't it's better than that. This fight is better than that. There is actually like emotions and expressions, a lot of smug smirks, but a lot of like angry, like them getting frustrated with each other and going
Yeah.
like all out. Like I actually feel like they care about this fight. Like I actually feel like they have emotions and
Like a good
that
example
they
of
both really really want to win.
like a good example of that part is Cinder is all smug whenever she's choking out Raven, and even as like her powers like starting to get drained, which like we'll talk about this later. If like at most, like I counted out, it only hit for like 4 or 5 ticks. So let's just assume that's a percentage point each. So at most, if barely Cinder might have 5% of the Spring Maiden's power floating around inside of her, at the most, if any. if any, because let's just assume it's like electricity. And you gotta push more. Well, I'm not an electrician, but whenever you got a long cable, there's more resistance in that long cable. Even if it's like copper or whatever, that could easily transfer the flow. You got to push more power if it's going over something that's long distance. Man, AC is great because it goes. Never mind. So like I appreciate that because like if this was Monty animating this fight, like Raven would probably just be sitting there like emotionlessly, and then like doing her cheeky like frostbolt on Cinder so that she can't move as the thing falls. So
Yeah.
It's good because like even in that point, like you could see like on Raven's face, like she knows she's in trouble, but then she's also sitting there like, okay, I know a way out of this too, also because she's aware of like basically the freaking caves collapsing in on them as they're fighting.
Yeah.
So like that was like a really good moment. Like I really like that moment. I also like the moment of frustration whenever it's like, oh, the razor blade sword breaks, and oh no, and one of them stuck in my arm. And it's like, ha! It's like an interesting plot point, and then it also makes it sounds like people have morphed with Grimm before, and this is not like this has happened before from the way that Raven like brings it up. I also like the fact that
Yeah.
whenever Cinder like taunts Raven about like, oh, I guess the Spring Maiden must have really trusted you then, knowing that like that Raven potentially like killed like a fucking child. So I mean, like there is that too. Also, that kind of throws the rule out of like oh, when can women stop getting the power? Like, do they stop being able to inherit the power whenever they can't bear children anymore? I mean, that would be like if I'm gonna set my rule.
Well, it still raises the question because Raven still would have been like 30 when she got it.
At
but
least.
yeah, at least 30 when she got
So
it. But
this is my official rule right now. This is my headcanon.
okay.
If the women lose the ability to accept maiden's power as soon as they lose the ability to have children. That's
So
the
when they
rule.
hit menopause, that's like
Whenever they hit
that'd be a
menopause.
cool rule if they ever like decide to have rules.
Yeah, actually would
Yeah.
be. Yeah,
That
would
seems
be pretty cool.
Yeah.
to me in my book that seems perfectly reasonable, and that could be something that could easily be said in like a throwaway line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm still not sure if Good Witch is that old. So I'm not
She's
sure if
not-
like.
she's not.
Who knows?
So
maybe all
that still
maybe all
raises
that
the question of why couldn't they give it to her and not Pyrrha?
Not only
But
that.
maybe
not only
all that
that.
dust exposure isn't good for reproductive health. You never know.
Okay, so not
Who
only
knows
that,
about-
but Cinder's Grim Arm can like extract the maiden power, but it doesn't
Apparently,
have
yeah.
aura.
Because Grim
So
don't have aura.
then,
Grim don't have.
why did Ironwood and Ozpin? Ozpin, mind you, is the wizard and would have been the one who set all the rules for the maiden powers. Why would he think that the maiden powers are tied to aura when they are so clearly not?
Oh yeah.
Not only with the Grim Arm, but the fact that both Cinder and Raven lose their aura in this fight, and both of them still use maiden magic
using
long
their magic.
afterwards.
Now here's an interesting observation that I will make because the loss of aura. So the finishing blow upon Cinder. So I feel that aura basically blocks. So they're casting magic on each other pretty much the entire time, but like it's like hitting them, but it's not like. So the final part is where basically Raven turns Cinder Fall into a popsicle, pretty much. So
I guess you could say that she put
my
Cinder
humble
on ice.
ooh,
Invisible
sick burn.
sunglasses.
So here's a fun little hypothesis here. So let's just say, for example, that once your aura is depleted, magic can be manipulated on you much more freely because it's basically like let's just say that the second to last hit was like was Raven basically putting a curse on Cinder, and then she was just activating the curse as she was falling off the side of the falling into the reactor core of the Death Star. I mean the bottom of the pit. Yeah.
The abyss.
So that's
This
just a
way.
fun that's just an observance right here. This is something right here. It's like that I'm making, and we've also seen people survive being frozen too. Also, so there's
Yep.
that.
I mean,
Uh,
Raven last episode.
Yeah, T Raven last episode. So in my humble opinion, like Cinder is a special kind of beat the fuck out. Like
we also see what's under that little thing reverse.
yeah, basically Ruby took her eye
Yeah.
and her arm.
Which is everything that we already knew, and people were all unanimously agreed that that's what was going on until the episode where they actually confirmed it, of course. Which was not last episode, but the episode before that when Jean like chipped the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we actually see
and
skin
that's-
underneath that chip, or
and then
No.
no, but you can see like the lip really clearly, like where it's sitting on the skin.
Yeah.
Like where she would like kind of like fit her finger under to pull it off. So of course it wasn't until then that people were like, "Oh, Ruby turned her face into stone." Like,
No.
I mean that would have been cool, but I'm like, eh.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but Cinder had better not be dead. She had better not be dead because that kill should not go to Raven.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that's a
if
major-
Cinder dies here,
like,
you could say this. fight
we've
was-
talked about this. They've already ruined one major confrontation that's been building up for 5 years. They cannot ruin this one too.
Yeah,
especially
they-
since
they-
Ruby's like supposed to be the main character and the leader of the team, and
Yeah.
she's done
Wait, Ruby's the
nothing.
main character? I thought it was Raven.
Thought it was
Yeah,
John.
exact-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. People
John is the main character. Let's all be real honest with ourselves. John is the main
I've been saying
character.
this for a while
Honestly,
now.
Ren should be the main character because he's the one with
I know.
the freaking semblance that negates Grim power.
I know.
the
Well, he
main
would
character is
he-
supposed to
he
be the
would-
one driving the action.
He would
And
be
for the
if-
first 4 volumes,
no,
actually,
but that's
that
there is no
was-
main character.
yeah, well, like for the first 4 volumes, that was mostly Ruby, and kind of also Cinder, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
But now it seems to be split between like
And Blake.
Ozpin and Raven, and now Blake and stuff
But,
like that.
no,
So
I
yeah,
hate Blake, but I'll say this: like Blake was always kind of a main character, like more so than Weiss or
Blake
Yang.
was Blake was the main character.
Yeah.
What in V2.
And
It's
not, in
all-
a good, and not in a good way.
Definitely in
And,
volume
and,
2.
and she repeated the same speech like what 3 times this volume.
it's
God
over.
damn,
I
it,
did it.
it's so annoying.
Yeah, 2 more good
This
things.
episode
though.
broke a lot of people. You could say it was made in China.
Oh no.
Shutting up now.
At least there isn't lead in it.
Yeah. But the other, I don't know, the only other like few good things from this episode was that Weiss's Lancer Queen looked pretty cool. It's cool that she can do that. And Supercharged Nora was also pretty cool. And then
Also, as a Renora fan, the fact that she actually gave a shit about Ren again was really nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
here's
The fact
I
that
will
Ren
add
were anywhere. in
I,
this
I will
episode-
add this too. I like the armament that that Blake's army has, which is just a bunch of people running around with swords and spears. Which, considering
that's
considering that what their normal enemy that they're fighting is the Grim, having a bunch of people running around with swords and spears makes sense whenever it comes to fighting that sort of
it's very basic weaponry for a basic. Yeah, for
Very
something-
basic
for,
but
for a
effective
bunch of
weaponry.
amateurs. So yeah, that makes. So yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, and
Yeah,
also.
it's a
I'm
small little
looking
thing that I like.
forward to see. I'm curious to see how this confrontation between Yang and Raven goes next week, because Raven doesn't have her aura, but Yang's missing an arm. So I'm curious to see where that goes.
And if even if Cinder tries to like sneak attack them, Cinder's so weak and damaged right now that even Yang could probably hold her own on a fight against her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me really feel really bad when it's like even Yang can put up a fight against her. It's like just why does everyone job my character?
She's still awesome, but I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see if the Yang versus Raven confrontation comes to blow.
Yeah, a single blow
A
because
single
she's only
blow
got one
because she
arm.
only has one arm.
Sorry, had to explain the joke.
God
Yep.
damn it.
Yeah.
Somebody would have gotten it.
What's up?
All right.
So,
All right, so that's all. Those are the only positive things, right? Pretty much.
and we
Let's
even
get-
had a lot of
Yeah.
negativity in there too.
I know that's how bad this episode is. So
Yeah.
Well, another positive.
Like even with
area where the
John's,
relic is, that was actually really cool. Like this whole had this whole journey thing going
Yeah.
on for it.
it looks interesting. Yeah.
do
But
we
yeah, and
want to just
like even with John's semblance, if they keep making Aura like useless, like they did this episode with Hazel, then it's not going to mean that. Then it's really not going to be as useful as I'm hoping it'll be. So, yeah, even in that, even that kind of has that caveat that, but
Like
that,
what?
Yeah,
It's
from
about
the,
Aura being
from the
useless. He's
first
literally saying, "I'm amplifying her aura."
from the
yeah,
first seconds of this episode, something is off. Last
Yeah.
episode, our biggest compliment of last episode was that they were like chunking people out to use teamwork.
but then they don't.
There was no teamwork in this episode. Not
Nope.
Yeah,
one bit.
yeah.
Yeah, like
What
Yang and
is-
Ruby,
Divide.
they start off strong. Like
Well, there was one bit of
like,
teamwork. Bernal shot Cinder.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Shoots
they,
at
like,
Cinder.
they both like
From
jump up first and then switch lanes real fast. And then
Who knew that Vernal had the what's the perk called in Call of Duty where you go down but you have the pistol that if you shoot a person you get back up. I forget what that perk
I
is
don't
called.
know.
second wind?
Vernal, yeah, it might be Second Wind.
I might be thinking of another game, but like yeah, it's
I don't know.
I don't know.
or just get a, like help with
But-
the kill when you're about to go down. It's just like
And
death
so-
from the grave.
Also, the
But yeah, so immediately we're disappointed because we thought
Yeah.
that this was going to be good, but it wasn't.
Ruby
Yeah.
said she was angry. Nothing changes about her personality
Nope.
or the way she fights or anything at all.
Well, she did
With her
kind of sound
expressions.
bitter.
It's called
I
Last
know.
Stand. That's the perk
Oh,
called.
okay.
Vernal had Last Stand equipped.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, she did kind of sound a little bit like pissed at Mercury and stuff like that when she's just like anything to shut you up. But that was
see, for me, like
but-
that's not Ruby anger. That's Ruby basically going.
yeah,
Um,
maybe yeah.
Also, the most BS of BS plot points are involving Ruby, which was introduced in Volume 2. The BS plot point that she can't do hand-to-hand combat, which is
Oh, God,
totally
yeah.
BS because how heavy do you think Crescent Rose is?
Fucking heavy.
Really fucking heavy.
It's established to be heavy in the first few episodes, in the first few volumes
Yeah.
and stuff, and in Chibi with
And in
Jean
Ruby
trying
Chibi
to,
when
like-
Jean can't
Yeah.
lift it, and Jean is actually really strong.
He parried a
And
whole
so-
horse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, Jean has been painted as being, or has been portrayed at times as being really strong. Actually,
I think the only weapon that might be heavier than Crescent Rose is Magenhild. That's the only one I can
Yeah,
think of off
yeah.
the top of my head that
maybe Cardin's mace, but yeah, Magenhild is the only weapon that should be heavier than Crescent Rose,
and Nora's
and
supposed
Ruby
to be,
lifts it.
And Nora is supposed to be known specifically as being fucking strong as shit. She's
Yeah.
basically like a dwarf almost. Because
She's right there with Yang. Yeah,
She's the shortest character in the series besides
Neo.
Neo, and she's arguably one of the strongest. So
Would
yeah,
you sacrifice points in height to trade them in strength?
Yep.
But you also get a massive rack in the process.
all good. No,
How
no
strong does that
complaints.
make Neo?
That's a
So-
that's how you design an RPG character right there.
See, and so
You already know
minor,
Neo's
minor
broken.
complaint ever since they switched engines, and there's a little bit of this in Volume 3 as well, so it's not just the engines. But Crescent Rose lately has seemed a lot lighter, a lot more weightless, and it really showed in the Ruby
Yeah.
character short, especially where she's like swinging
Mhm.
it around with one hand like it's a sword. Like I made this joke a while back in I don't remember if it was in a podcast or review or Facebook or if it's actually on record. So on record here and now, a lot of times when she swings her scythe, she's not swinging it like a scythe. She's swinging it like she's
Yeah.
playing Skyrim and has a sword, just has a regular sword with the Ruby Crescent Rose mod attached to it,
Well,
where she's
that's
just
kinda
like
true.
yeah.
I mean, if they're gonna do that, they need to put in like its
So
worst enemy,
basically,
like,
Crescent
yeah.
Rose is Mjolnir
Yeah,
or something.
and then
Oversized pickup.
but even so, like so
You're the
Ruby's
god
supposed
of thunder, not god of hammers.
Yeah, nobody else can pick it up until somebody else can.
yeah. So
Yeah.
Ruby's supposed to be really
So,
good
yeah,
with the
it's-
scythe at this point, to where she's like swinging it around one-handed. Mercury kicks it out of her hand, and then throws a punch, and Ruby just ducks under it and then stands back up, headbutting Mercury in the chin. Let me say this: I have never been in martial arts before. I took like an hour-long class on Aikido just to know like what Aikido was. Like that's my only martial arts background. I could
Mhm.
do this. Just because you stand up and hit someone in the chin with your head doesn't make you Jackie freaking Chan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It does not make that month of hand-to-hand training suddenly
Yeah.
feel like it was worth it.
Yeah,
Not to
that was-
mention Mercury throwing a punch. What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why did he throw a kick?
Yeah.
He's thrown punches before. He threw
But still,
punches
why
against
didn't he-
Pyrrha, like in the
But
first
it's-
real fight he was ever in.
It would still make more sense if he kicked, and then it would go because then Ruby could like maybe grab his leg or something and actually do some martial arts move.
Do that
Yeah.
freaking Batman move where like he catches their foot, throws them up in the air, they do like a full flip, and then he kicks them in the chest.
Yeah, do something like that. That'd be way cooler.
Yeah.
Was terrible because it's literally was there because like, oh shit, we haven't shown any benefit of the training montage yet. Here
Yeah.
it is, and it was garbage, and it felt forced, and it didn't even make sense.
Yeah.
It was no,
And-
literally, dude.
yeah.
It was the
You can
same
feel it.
scene of basically if you replace Ruby with Ozpin and Mercury with Ruby, it's the same freaking animation.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it's like what's making this another thing like by
Actually, that makes me like it a little bit more.
by
Yeah.
by association of everything that's happened in this like big fight scene that's been going on for what 3 episodes now. It's going to take about 4
Yeah.
total.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, way too fucking long. It's been boring the whole time almost. The thing is, it's felt like the characters, the hero characters, have gotten weaker despite the training, and the fights haven't actually been like. It feels like the whole reason they did that is because they needed to have 4 episodes of this fight scene. Because let's be honest, if the main characters, the hero characters, have already been getting better, and then they've actually done they've done some training, right? Between the last time they fought a lot of these people. Honestly, they should beat most of them. Let's be
Yeah.
honest here, right? Crow should be a match for Raven for the most part, and he's not. That doesn't really make sense because
Well, we don't even see much of
Yeah,
their
we don't even see
fight.
that
Yeah,
fight.
and we
We
don't
don't
even
even see their
actually-
fight.
We see them
Okay.
clash. She kicks him away. They proceed to go off camera, and then the next episode, they're not even fighting each other. Like it proceeds to go. Let's go down to the vault.
By the
Yeah.
logic of the show that was placed previously, of Crow saying that one day out there is worth a week in the classroom.
Yeah.
By this point, given everything they've done, the fact that really the villains have mostly been on the sidelines and really haven't done all that much lately, Ruby
Team
should
Ranger should be like
be making
fourth year students.
the Ranger
like
should be
fourth year
making mincemeat of Mercury because
And
Yang
Emerald,
almost
yeah.
beat Yang. Okay, yes, we know that Mercury technically lost on purpose to Yang.
Yeah, I
But
kind
I don't
of
think it was
like the
intentional.
idea that Mercury is actually like really, really good, like Huntsman level. I like the idea that he's actually Huntsman level. We haven't
But-
seen him fight on
But
that level
Ruby should
before,
be at
but-
that level by now.
Yeah, Ruby should be at that level by now. Ren and Nora should be at that level by now, and Jean should be less pointless. But
Yeah.
I also didn't make really sense that Cinder should have absolutely destroyed Jean anyway. Like the power levels don't make sense. Everybody was mostly stalemating for this entire 3 episodes at this point.
Hey,
And
hey,
that
I
just
remembered
feels
something.
Like shit. It doesn't feel like there's a fight going on. It's felt boring this
Guys.
entire time.
What's
guys,
it? What's that?
guys, I remembered something. Hey, you remember whenever like Blake, like after Hazel gets harpooned and like Blake runs in, and everyone stops and looks at Blake, and then they all just like nod at each other, and then they autistically nod at each other, and then Blake autistically runs away. Do y'all remember that part?
I do
I
remember.
unfortunately I'm trying not to.
I remember that Emerald
It's
and
like
Mercury were
pick a
facing.
fight, Blake.
No, I remember
I
that
know.
Mercury and Emerald were facing in Blake's direction. Everyone else like turned to face Blake, and then Ruby spun around like, Yang, go now! And then Yang still somehow like made it past Mercury and Emerald despite having to turn all the way around and then run in the direction where Mercury and Emerald were already facing.
I mean, talk about disappointing reunions. Like, what was the point of even having that happen?
It was
There's
just like
literally none.
It's like we don't.
Absolutely
Yeah, exactly.
no
We
point.
did. Yeah, that was pointless. It's like just save the first time they see her for next episode. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. ugh.
And
Because
they,
they're
Then
and
of
they
course the
all, and they
fandom's all
all
like,
act like,
"Oh my gosh, Team Ruby reunion!" It's all like, "Yeah," and it was totally pointless and lame.
yeah.
It
And they
was just
all-
very awkward. It was just like
Yeah.
Blake walks in and it's just like, oh, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back out
It's
there
like,
where we're
how
winning.
about you have
Like,
an
I'm gonna go out
actual
there where we're
fight
winning somehow.
with Adam?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they all
Yeah.
and they all act like they don't know what's going on, as if the police didn't just announce their presence over a loudspeaker.
Yeah.
And like you said, dude, now they have law
Now,
enforcement.
cops.
Now law enforcement is a damn thing in this series.
What? Wait, media. Who said something about not calling the police in his novels and stuff? What
No,
was his
it
name?
was Alfred Hitchcock.
Alfred Hitchcock, because it's boring. Yeah. Yeah, and so,
That was
and then,
one of the biggest what the fuck moments I've ever felt
Yeah.
while watching a TV show or a movie in my
How
life.
long was Blake just standing
And
there?
I mean that in the most negative, angry, and disappointed way possible. I cannot stress enough how stupid it is that all of a sudden now we actually have cops present in something.
I don't even like how
Yeah.
like Hazel's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care.
This is your problem,
Like-
not mine.
it's like, you're gonna have to fight your way through these people to get out, dude.
And you also have a hole in your gut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he has a hole in his gut. What do you want to bet they're gonna
He
completely
didn't
act
know.
like it's not even a thing?
Yeah.
Well, he can just use the semblance, I guess, but
Yeah, I mean, he
Yeah.
didn't have the hole in his gut when he said that, though.
Yeah, no. Well,
that
yeah,
was
but
later.
it's like,
that was later.
yeah, but it's like no amount. But yeah, it's like,
Oh, we lost media.
no, he's still
Oh,
here.
no.
No,
I'm
I
still
got-
seeing
I
him.
got you all.
yeah, but it's like, but yeah, no. So I'm betting that they're just gonna act like that whole Raven stuck in him isn't even there, even though I'm telling you, right? I don't even have to be a doctor to know that pain nullification doesn't do squat if you don't have blood.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, that's
Dude,
not
dude,
how.
does Miles and
That's
Carrie
not
know
how
that, though?
blood. Probably not. Yeah, it's like that's not how blood loss works.
You gotta
Or-
get,
yeah.
like, it's like depending.
That's
like, it
not
really
how
depends on how they deal
dying
with that.
works.
Yeah, it really depends on how they deal with it because that was actually pretty brutal of Weiss. Like, you know what?
Well,
Sean,
she
how do you
just-
like it? How do you like it?
Yeah, that is kind of interesting that it was right where she got stabbed and stuff like that. So
Well,
maybe a little bit of
was,
revenge.
No, it was basically the same area, just on the opposite side.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm betting they're probably just gonna completely ignore the fact that he's fucking dead now.
Yeah,
Because I don't think Jean's planning on gonna be healing him. So,
yeah.
but-
that-
but yeah, so they, and like the whole, and so yeah, and now the White Fang has a problem with fighting, has a small problem with fighting their fellow faunus, even though that's all the White Fang's been doing this entire volume is fighting their fellow faunus.
Oh my
I
god, and
could-
Adam's
And there was
like,
this weird.
how
There was
could
this
you
little,
do
weird mini
this?
thing where they try to relate one of the characters that that Kaiser Neko, I think, voices.
Yeah.
What a
It's one of the
shitty-
white-
what a
Yeah,
shitty-
Kaiser
what a
Neko's
shitty
character to
off-
some other guy.
What a shitty off-brand ISIS the White Fang turned out to
Kaiser,
Oh my God.
Kaiser, Kaiser, dude, you're better than this.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
it's good.
be. And then-
Kaiser
and then
Lanny, you
Ilya's
guys
like,
deserved better.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
like,
Ilya's like, yeah, I disabled all the bombs.
yeah, it's like Ilya. What Ilya did was smart. Blake's sitting there doing his doing a speech on top of a rooftop, like, "I am Catgirl. I am not the hero you need, but not the one you deserve. I am the Catgirl. Is the name of the fight. And just
The-
she's
the-
backhand Adam.
The same fucking speech she said like 3 goddamn times this volume already. That I'm
Yeah,
so
it's
sick of hearing
over. Yeah,
because-
you've lost. Yeah,
because
So,
she
isn't it?
is the
Isn't
last
it
person
over?
that deserves to make this speech. Can I please point that
Yeah.
out again? It feels hollow coming from Blake. It's like, really, Blake, you're the one
Can
to
I
talk.
also point out the irony again that a major theme of this show and this volume in particular is teamwork, and yet the main
No one
heroes
showed anything.
there is
Show
no
teamwork
teamwork.
whatsoever.
Yeah, Ruby had her little speech. Yeah, again, Ruby's little speech to Raven. We've come so far. We've done the impossible by working together. Nobody's
How?
working together. When? Fucking when, Ruby? No
Wait,
one's working together this volume.
The
Wait,
only
wait,
time
wait.
they've really worked together and done something awesome was against the Nicolave.
Yeah, that was the only time.
Because
And
Red runs
maybe,
in place for four different shots.
And to think now,
and maybe
think
that's what they
now
were talking
that
about.
most
but-
of the fandom, most of this stupid fucking retarded ass fandom,
Which we
thought
love.
thought that fight was bad. I'll
yeah,
call you now, because that was actual teamwork. That was actual teamwork.
yeah, that was the
Appreciate
only
that
one that actually.
5-man podcast to Philip off.
again, and like
Yeah, 5 minutes of puff. You guys are all dumb.
and like the animation in that fight was off, and there's a Max Lampy video, the Floof artist video, like detailing like all the animation errors. But again, like when I critique something, if I don't notice it
Yeah.
within 2 viewings,
Yeah.
it's a nitpick.
For me, it's just the question of, do I like this more or less after I think about it for more than 5 minutes?
Yeah, that's a
Fair
good one
enough
too.
assessment.
That's a good
Now, can we just
moniker.
so let's talk about the pink fucking with neon green stripes elephant in the room, and that is how unbelievably terrible everything about the White Fang and Adam was. We've already talked about a couple of the things.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the fact?
for what they've done.
It's
What
like,
happened? Adam,
it's
you
like,
don't know your
what?
backstory. What the fuck have they done to you? I don't understand. Take off the goddamn mask.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I lost my cool.
No, it's okay. Yeah, this was
Literally-
fucking retarded. Yeah.
Literally everything about this is the fucking worst.
This episode broke me.
Yeah, it's like if
Literally
anything pissed me
everything.
off about this episode, like Weiss talking to John and they're like, that was good. I really liked that.
That was cute.
Like
It
the
was.
Cinder fight, whatever.
Can-
The Adam part pissed me the fuck off. What happened to Adam Taurus? Adam, bitch, tits, Taurus, badass samurai with the shotgun.
I'll
Why
tell
does
you
it go
what
down to a fucking fist from a cat girl?
I'll
I
tell
don't
you what
understand. I
happened.
like Blake. Why do I don't.
I'll tell you
I'll
what
tell you what
happened.
happened. Go ahead.
The fandom happened.
The fandom happened.
The fandom decided we don't like this guy, so Miles and Carrie gave up on him, replaced him with Ilya, and jobbed him out. That is what happened.
And that's
The
It didn't make any
fandom
sense. It's like what
for
they're
the
doing with
last
Yang.
2
They're
years-
jobbing her, and she's supposed to be like this big, this martial arts fighter. But it's like
the
Adam
first-
literally kills Sienna Khan, kills everyone else, proceeds
The-
to
the
like
two-
just chop a freaking just literally disintegrate a giant mech.
The last 2
Troy's
years,
gang.
the fandom has been saying 2 things. Next time Yang meets Adam, she's gonna destroy him. Next time Jean sees Cinder, he's gonna destroy her. Because
Yep.
the
And they
fandom-
didn't
None of
even
that
give them that.
in one episode, one perfectly awful bullshit episode, they took both of those things away from us.
Yeah, this episode seems to have jobbed.
Which are the two things that literally everybody has been looking forward to. Even us who put a lot of thought into this show, who really analyzed this shit, and to all the people that we consider dumbasses that just blindly love this show, everybody has been united in wanting those 2 fights and wanting
Yeah.
those 2 storylines to pay off. That have been
Well, actually, a
essentially-
lot of people have wanted Jean to die fighting Cinder, but
Either
Eh.
way, that's still even so. That would still be it's still been taken away. Like just having that fight.
yeah.
And
This
both-
episode has just jobbed out 3 major villains, 2 or 3 major villains, because Hazel now has a giant hole in his gut. Adam has just been bitch slapped by Blake, and Cinder's been killed may or may not have been killed by Raven. That is 3 major villains in this series, 2 of which we like are these huge characters. Adam, who we've seen since before Volume 1.
Blake trailer.
Yeah, since the Black trailer, who's been built up as kind of a antagonist to Blake, has just been taken out in one hit. Cinder, who we thought was like the big bad for 3 fucking volumes.
I never thought she was the big bad, but I thought she was gonna be like Ruby's like rival, like the Darth Vader to Salem's Emperor.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who's been painted as this major villain, who's done all these terrible things to like our main cast, killed Jean's partner, caused Penny's death, done all these terrible things to the split up. She's single-handedly responsible for 2 major deaths and the separation of Team RWBY. And she goes out like this. This is why Raven cannot. Yeah, this is why Cinder cannot be dead. She cannot be dead. She cannot go down to Raven.
Yeah, general rule of thumb: if you don't see a body, they haven't died. Pyrrha doesn't count. Okay.
Please, Miles and yeah. I actually tweeted Carrie. On Twitter, he posted a thing where he's like, "Hey, hope you all enjoyed the episode." I was all like, "Yeah, I thought it was okay. I really hope Cinder's not dead, though. It would really suck if a major death like that went to Raven."
And here's another problem, though: is even if she's not dead, it's still terrible for a couple of reasons that I think I already mentioned.
But she still comes across as really weak because she lost to
because she
Raven.
lost to a character that's not one of the main characters. Also, I understand they put a lot on trying to build up Raven, but she didn't do what. It didn't work. It just straight up.
All right, I'm gonna have to pause this conversation for just a moment. So,
okay.
Yang knows that only a maiden can open the vault door, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now she knows that Raven is the Spring Maiden. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
or at least
she just Vernal's dead body is right there too. So it's like
Maybe.
I don't know how
she could do the math in her head pretty easily at this point.
Either way, like it doesn't matter that Raven was always the Spring Maiden because Vernal's dead, and Raven would be the most likely candidate for Vernal having died, and so like she could probably like assume that there was a fight that like either Cinder betrayed them or they betrayed Cinder. Cinder's gone, Vernal's gone, and Raven's the only last man standing.
Yeah.
Well, woman, but
Yeah,
but it's still. The thing is, it's still a problem because if she's not dead, then they did again for the 3rd time this volume. They did the "it looks like this character's dead and she's not" thing, which is not okay. Like it's getting old.
They're throwing suspense out the window.
And throwing suspense out the window. She cannot do that. And the other problem is that it's still not okay that that when Cinder finally comes back and faces everybody for the first time since Volume 3, she faces Raven. Yeah. That's not what we want to see. Again, this is another case of the maidens ruining the show, which is something I've been saying since they were introduced. I've been saying that since before we even started this podcast. I've been saying it, as I said it last year, I've been saying it forever. The maidens are fucking bullshit. And there's so many things in the show right now that have helped to ruin the show by taking focus away from all of the things that we have cared about since the very beginning of the show, which is Cinder, the fight between Cinder versus RWBY. They kept building that up. They continue to build that up. They built it up a lot last volume.
Even in this volume too.
Yeah, and she's still like, I'm gonna kill RWBY, and she didn't even fight RWBY. She fought Jean, and then she fought fucking Raven. Bullshit. Yeah. Not okay. Adam. I mean, just that's the worst part of this episode by far. I mean, also, again, can I reiterate?
It's the final nail in the burial in the coffin that they're burying Adam in. Yeah.
Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing, Miles and Carrie, you fucking retards. You guys I have no respect for you at all whatsoever at this point. Even if your fandom hates a character, what's the best way to get your fandom happy? Get his fucking ass kicked. Make it epic. Make it matter. Yeah. Make that actually humiliate him. This is not humiliating for him. This is humiliating for the fandom. because
Yeah.
people hate Adam.
And the
They
show.
fucking hate
Yeah.
him, right? More than they should in some cases. I agree, but then when he loses, make it a fucking moment, not the most pointless and biggest letdown of all time. That's not how it works. You
Yeah,
guys have no fucking brains whatsoever.
They did this
And-
a little bit in Volume 2 with Torchwick. Although in Torchwick, there was a reason because Torchwick was never shown to be like that good. Like he could barely
No.
hold his own against Blake
Yeah.
a semester earlier. Like he could barely
Yeah.
hold his own against
Yeah.
her. Like he could barely hold his own against Sun. Like anytime that like he was fighting one of them and the other one jumped in, that's when he got hit back in Volume 1. So I never understand. Like I still get comments to this day being like, but Torchwick took on both Blake and Sun. No, he didn't. He
No.
took on them one-on-one, and every single
One
time
at a
the other
time.
one jumped in, that's when he got hit. He could
And he
not
still did.
handle
You got to admit, he still did pretty good. But
He's still not
Yeah,
supposed to be
he
And
couldn't
great.
handle
so with Torchwick, it kind of worked. What didn't work about that in Volume 2 was the build-up and like how Blake was like pinning all of her existential crisis things on Torchwick, even though
Yeah.
she let the White Fang were apparently bad enough for her to leave before they ever got involved with Torchwick.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
So
other
why
thing
did
was
she
And-
make that jump?
And
Yeah.
then yeah,
And
then
also
when,
Yang
like,
saying if
here,
Roman
my-
Torchwick
my
came
head-
through, you'd lose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
and it-
Apparently, Yang's a fucking idiot.
Well, I mean, I think Blake would have lost at that point. Like,
At that
although
point,
with
given her
Yang
state, yeah.
helping, who knows? But yeah, at
It-
that point, like
but-
Blake couldn't even like throw a punch hardly. But,
I guess so.
yeah.
Exhaustion and all that, but
Yeah, the exhaustion. That was the point of that.
but
He's-
still, I don't know.
Back to Adam though. So he's been built up
Adam
this
is not
entire
Torchwick.
show.
Yeah, no, he was built up as this really powerful guy
very
who
powerful.
was like Blake's mentor essentially and her partner. So they were like this ultimate dream team, and he was this massive muscle, and he goes down in one hit here after Blake phases into the path of his sword.
Yeah, but exactly.
I
The
can't
same
like
thing
I
with-
can't even blame the writer for that. That falls squarely on the people who animated this part.
Yes, that's true. And that's not
Yeah.
even the worst part. I
Like,
didn't even
okay,
catch that
okay,
because
like-
I literally didn't even notice that until you said that right now because I was too busy focusing on how stupid the concept was though.
So, and
That's
here's
the
the thing,
problem.
like we've talked about Shane Newville's letter a bit on this podcast before, and we all kind of agreed that like Shane was out of line or whatever. But
Yes.
one thing that Shane said is that the writers tend to get really lazy on behalf of the animators. And apparently at the end of Volume 3, there was supposed to be like a big fight between Yang and Adam, and Shane was already working on it. And then they said, we're taking the fight in a different direction, throw all this out, we're going to just have him one-shot Yang. And for me, that worked thematically, and it worked
Yes, it
in
did.
traumatizing Yang, because it wasn't that
Yep.
she lost, it was that she lost in one shot. But now,
And it
I'm
made
starting
Adam
to,
look like a monster, a legitimate monster.
But now
But
it
no.
really feels like they just did the exact same thing, but in order to take Adam out.
Yeah.
Like this, no joke.
Just
So
to satisfy,
this-
because they
They've
think
been-
it's going to satisfy the fandom. And let's be honest here, the fandom is going to act like this was the best episode ever. They're still going to love this probably.
I'm already seeing people being like, "Yay, Cinder's actually dead," or "Yay, Cinder got put on ice." Yay, yay,
Yeah.
yay.
Yay, Cinder's dead! Yay, yay, a really cool fight! Yay, Adam gets taken down. Yeah, everyone's gonna act like this is the best episode ever, but this was fucking disappointing
And this
yeah.
goes back to what I said at the outset of this podcast. This episode broke me because this episode actively dismantled the series. It dismantled it by
Yeah.
not having any teamwork on the hero's part. It dismantled it by having all the characters act
ruining
like
3
idiots.
villains.
Yeah.
And it dismantled it to an even greater extent than Breach.
so here's
Yeah.
Which
that's
is
how
here's,
bad it
sick.
is.
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Because
the
things
worst
matter
part-
more now too, just by virtue of the fact that things are
This is
important
worse
now
than
in
Breach. This is
Oh, yeah.
worse than Breach. And here's the thing, like I even
Yeah, I'm normally very, very fucking forgiving. It's a bad
Yeah.
episode. Yeah, I've got I like the episode overall, but I'm starting. The more I'm hearing about it, it's like the
What
more
happened, like-
the more I'm agreeing with High Power that it feels like they're just trying to hard reset
been
the bad
robbed.
guys.
We've
Yeah,
been
we've
robbed.
been robbed. It's sort of just like,
Yeah.
yeah. By the way,
And,
the,
like-
the years you've been watching, yeah, those guys aren't actually that strong.
Here's the thing: the
Yeah.
lead into the finale should be the low point.
Yep.
For the volume, for the characters.
For the heroes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Volume 1, Blake ran away. Volume 2, they're in the middle of the city. Grim are pouring from the hole. They're surrounded and alone, and people are screaming in fear as Grim just keep coming. Now we all
And
know
no
that
civilians die in this
and
process.
we all know that they resolved that 5 minutes into the next episode, but for that episode, like, that was a
The
really,
setup was good,
really
yeah.
great way to end that episode off.
Volume 3.
Volume 3. Oh
Cinder
my
dies.
god.
I mean, Salem dies. I mean,
Amber's down. Cinder's got the maiden powers. Jean gets blasted on his butt.
Yang's arms chopped off.
Yang's arm gets chopped off. The ship crashes. The dragon is circling around the school. Everyone is pulling out. The Grim are running rampant. It's out of control. Beacon is lost at that point.
Yeah.
Volume 4.
Volume 4, which was actually the lead into the finale for Volume 4 was actually like kind of tying up the 3 subplots with like Weiss escaping, Yang leaving, Blake finding out about Adam's plan. But then for the Ranger section, it was really, really brief. It was Ren and Nora reaching Kodoyuri, being like, "We got to get out of here." No, it's too late. Ren has the like PTSD. Hello,
Yeah. Blue
darkness,
screen
my
of
old
death.
friend. Yeah, and then the new Clavies reveal. This, every single threat that they have been building up to this volume got dismantled, got
Yeah.
pwned, got humiliated.
Yeah.
Every single
And-
threat.
And I
There's no
think the
tension. There's no
tension for the next episode. And here's the thing is that, and again, I think this is another one of those times where the fandom happened, because after Volume 3, the fandom was all like, "Oh my gosh, this was so sad and scary, and we don't like sad and scary. We
It's
want
not
happy and joyful again." Yeah. And
This
so
is not earned.
yeah, I saw this one person even say, "Oh, this episode gave me hope again." It's all like, you fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, this episode ruined. Like, this episode has
Ruined the
taken
show.
all of the tension out of the show. Yeah,
If they
exactly.
just-
The tension is gone for this volume. So
This
You want that
episode did not just ruin an entire volume. This episode ruined the previous 4 volumes for me. That's how bad this volume
Yeah.
is.
the tension is just gone because of this episode.
Let's just
and-
be grateful that they have a tendency to retcon stuff like this by the
Yeah.
next volume.
Yeah, they're gonna retcon
like they did.
They're
with
gonna
three.
retcon the fuck out of the ending of this volume. Like they retcon the
Yeah.
fuck out of the ending of Volume 2.
Actually, I think we've like poured this episode enough as is. I think we
One
move
more
on to,
thing. I
like,
still have to talk
what
about
they
Adam
might
some
do.
more, about how fucking stupid Adam is. Because
And how
'cause the biggest-
terrible his voice actor is.
how bad is
Oh,
voice
you mean?
acting?
Wait, no. Don't you mean Adam's autistic screeching?
Yeah.
And Adam's like, watch this. I'm gonna take us all with us. Click, 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 click. Oh shit.
Yeah, Ilya apparently like Batmaned her way through every other White Fang member off screen.
The
Yeah.
thing specifically with Adam that I was like, I could not believe it. I was like, what? I could not actually believe what was going on. Was besides the fact that he's just standing there like in formation or whatever. Like, also, why do you stand just like in the middle of like an open area?
There's no cover.
There's no cover or
Oh.
anything. You know, that's already a problem. Second thing is, how many guys are with him? 4?
Like there's
Like
like
The
four,
seven,
like 4 to
seven.
yeah,
I
there's-
counted 7.
Okay, 7. He's the motherfucking leader of the White Fang. He had more people with him when it was just his renegade faction taking Beacon in Volume 3.
What happened to all of them?
They've been building
Yeah.
Since
They
Did they
Adam
just
has-
not want to animate all those people fighting?
Adam has been built up since before Volume 1. Since before this
Even
was
in this
technically
volume, they were
even
kind of
started.
building him up as a threat.
Yes, exactly.
Even in this volume, they were all
He
like,
became
"He's the leader of the White Fang. Oh no, be afraid. Adam's now in charge of the White Fang."
He's now in charge of the White Fang. That they were still building him up in this volume itself. He killed Sienna Khan. He's now super fucking powerful.
This makes
He's
Sienna
considered
Khan's death even more
basically
painful.
unstoppable.
Yeah.
You know what should have happened?
Yeah, Sienna Khan is rolling over in her grave. I lost to that scrub?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You let that scrub kill me off?
Because you know what should have happened? Should have been Adam like sneaking around and Blake found him or something like that. And then she's like tries to be all righteous and comes up with her army, or with her makeshift army. And then he's like, "Pwned, bitch! I got the entire White Fang, motherfucker!" And his whole fucking army is there.
It's like you're too late. I've already succeeded months
He
ago.
starts cutting through with his army, his own fucking Faunus people, and starts massacring them. And then there's some fucking tension going on. Then we have to wonder what the fuck's gonna happen. Then there's some fucking stakes happening. Oh, maybe he can kill Gira or Callie. Then
This episode would have been improved if they extended this episode by 2 minutes and actually gave us a Blake versus Adam fight. This episode would have been improved.
Yeah,
Like if Blake actually had to work for her victory over Adam, like in defeating him in one-on-one combat, it would have improved this episode by a good chunk. Like this episode would have become passable at that point.
This episode is so bad that every decision the writers made is not just a bad decision. It is pretty much the worst decision that you could possibly make.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is. Because what they did with Adam, literally a bad fan fiction writer would have done a better job. I'm not kidding. Think about it. A bad fan fiction writer would have given us a poorly worded and with tons of typos and run-on sentences version of what would happen, but it would have made more plot sense than what what Miles and Carrie wrote. I seriously believe that. I could go on fucking fanfiction.net and click on a random fanfiction and probably find something better than what Miles and Carrie did. There's nothing worse than that. That is the worst insult you could possibly have.
Like they've
the wrestler in me is currently saying
in advance. They've got all these volumes planned in advance for what things. But the question is, are they deviating from? Are they making like a lot of deviations from what they had pre-planned
from what they originally planned?
Because they all wrote it together, but at the same time, it's like, what changes are you making to that initial thing?
This is the time where I'm worried.
The original thing?
This is the time where I'm actually curious of what is on the cutting room floor for this volume.
Yeah,
this is what's gonna be like. I'm pretty certain they storyboarded all sorts of cool shit out, and then at the end of the day, they were like,
"I will not buy the DVD for this volume."
That's what I was gonna say. Yep.
Probably not. Yeah.
But someone here needs to, because someone needs to like listen to the commentary and like transcript it for us.
Try to listen to them explain this BS. You will suck.
Here's the thing. I can't, in good conscience. I think I would like get depressed if I did that.
Oh god! Just imagine.
I have to do a collector's thing. It's one of those things you kind of have to have the full set.
I'm just glad that we only got one left.
This is the first time I have not looked forward to the DVD coming out and the audio commentary. I had no desire for it whatsoever.
I saw the theatrical premiere of Volume 5, Episode 1. Just imagine what they're going to say to justify what went on at the end of Volume 5. Whenever
they probably won't feel like they have to. They probably won't. Because again, the fandom's going to eat this up. The fandom is going to act like this was the best thing ever. They're going to act like this was such a great episode.
I hope there's enough.
Is part of the problem. RWBY Rewind is part of the problem. I think.
God, yes, it is. Oh my god,
it's
yes.
spoiling a little bit of the next episode.
Like RWBY Rewind is part of the problem because it's just a bunch of fan wanking, and also it seems like at the end of RWBY Rewind they have the preview. It seems like they are purposely putting unimportant stuff in each episode just so that they can have something to show at the end of RWBY Rewind.
Kind of.
Which is why the best episode, one of the better episodes of this volume, was the one that actually what I'm trying to think which episode didn't end up having the RWBY Rewind.
Episode 1, episode 2, I think.
No,
No, I think
well,
it's a recent
I mean
episode.
episode 1, obviously, but no, after the winter
Oh
break. I'm
no,
trying to think.
episode 11 didn't, or episode 12 didn't have the rewind.
Yeah, because
Okay,
of
that
No,
was
Christmas and
11,
shit.
11, 11. They didn't have the rewind.
okay, yeah, and that was one of the. It was a decent episode, right?
It was okay.
Yeah, that was an okay episode. I was thinking
I
for
mean, it
some.
was
I was thinking.
It was mostly Jean versus getting pwned by Cinder, but
There was that
Yeah.
emotional outburst and whatever, and yeah.
yeah, Jean's emotional outburst, which, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the bad stuff in that, it was like necessary stuff for like what they were doing with that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't
But-
feel like anything should have been cut from that episode, which is
Yeah.
more than I can say about most of the other episodes this volume, or really in the show, really.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't even think you could
But-
cut this volume down to improve it.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
no.
Again, you can
Yeah, no,
easily
with,
skip
like-
episode 5 and you can easily skip episode 5 and 7.
Yeah, that's another thing, is that with previous volumes, I have a list of like a bunch of stuff that I would change about this show if I could, and a lot of it is really just tweaks, little logistical changes. Up to this point, the only thing I would like do a complete overhaul of fixing is Blake's plot, Blake's sub arc last volume, and the bully arc, and like that's pretty much
I just pinned
it.
that to the
This
tournament as well.
volume. Yeah, probably maybe a little bit, and
I would.
yeah, I
But
get.
already
I don't
did
know.
my video
The
on
main
that.
change that I had making to the tournament was that in episode 2 it's just have Juniper versus Team Sun and stuff like that. But with this volume, it's like you would need a complete overhaul to fix everything wrong with this volume. You have to
Why
change.
didn't the
I feel like you would
why
have to
didn't
change a
the
lot,
end
like-
point of this volume happen where like everyone's like,
Yeah.
okay, we got to rush to the bandit camp so we can get the Spring Maiden?
Yeah.
Like, why wasn't that the end point of this volume?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: is that I feel like with this volume, I feel like this volume has taken every complaint that the idiotic fans have had about the show, that the fandom has had about the show over the last few years, and they've basically cranked it, like they've inadvertently cranked it up to 11. Last volume, people complained that not enough went on. This volume, there were entire volumes or episodes of nothing going on.
Yep.
Last volume and in volume 1, people complained that Jean stole the show. This volume, Ozpin, and Raven pretty much stole the show. And like
everybody, like RWBY, because I remember this specifically. That last volume, like people were talking and complaining about RWBY, and media specifically defended RWBY at that point. Was still a RWBY apologist. And in this volume,
I still am when they decide to do stuff with her.
yeah. But my point is, like, at this point,
I think they're too
Even a
afraid to do stuff with
even a
her.
couple podcasts ago, you were like, yeah, no, Ruby's like not the main character like anymore. She's just not.
She's just there.
You know what I mean? That's how much they've ruined everything.
No
That's
one
how
is
much...
the main character anymore.
Yeah,
I am
exactly.
I am thoroughly looking forward to the Fat Man Falling review discussion of this episode. This will be interesting.
This one, yeah, because they
This
just did,
is
they
gonna
just did
be-
the previous episode. It'll if you follow their Twitter, they do like a Daily Motion one or whatever.
Yeah, well, they
Early?
upload to Daily Motion and stuff early because of the whole YouTube copyright bullcrap and how freaking in their pocket Rooster Teeth is.
Yeah, there was they used to do VidMe or whatever, but yeah, if you follow their Twitter,
VidMe's
they
not
do
around.
they upload
VidMe's
it.
not around anymore.
Yeah,
VidMe
yeah, I know
shut
that's
down.
they had to change.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you follow their Twitter, you can get to see it early. It's just the reaction though, but the discussions come out like whenever the episode
Yeah,
comes
well,
out.
the discussions, they do a lot more editing with those.
Yeah, because they have to
Who
cut
was
down
this?
like big chunks.
Yeah.
Sorry, I blanked out for a second there.
What's that, Robert?
we
Who
were
was
talking
this?
about
What were we
the
talking about?
Fat Man Falling, his
Oh.
reaction stuff.
Like I'm curious what the
Yeah,
other
but-
big YouTube reactors are. Like I'll be.
I
I'm
was looking it up leading into tonight just a few hours ago. A couple people already had like their discussions out, and the only one I recognized was Chibi Reviews, who I used to watch some of his stuff. I was never subscribed to him, but he was
I have a
someone-
feeling Chibi reviews
Chibi,
will
I'm
not like
subscribed to
this.
Chibi.
He-
I'm subscribed to TV.
he called it a mixed bag. So
Yeah.
he was lighter on it than we were, but he did address a lot of I didn't watch the entire video, but he did seem
I'll
to
check it out
address a
later.
lot of
Yeah.
the same problems we did. I used to watch Chibi Reviews when he was like doing Naruto stuff regularly.
To
Um,
give,
I
I'm
still like,
curious. I
get
would
a lot
have.
of my anime from
I
him.
actually want to watch Murder of Birds review,
oh,
overview.
he's probably
this
gonna
episode.
love it. He's
Well,
probably
like
gonna.
the thing is,
love
like he was even a little angry about the whole like lifting the hands thing from the last episode. He's just like,
I'm
why?
right.
He's just like, RWBY, what are you doing? He's healing her.
He's too
You
much
gotta
of a
be a little bit more
fanboy.
critical.
He doesn't think enough. I still believe that,
he's gotten a lot more self-conscious, and
which is
not
good.
not to
That's
toot
good.
my horn, but it seemed like he started getting a lot more self-conscious about how much thought he actually puts into stuff after I called him out.
The thing is,
I don't think we'll ever get him on a podcast. I'd love to get a.
We
I'd love to
might.
get
I
a.
mean, Fatman Falling's called him out before, and he does like streams with them now.
Yeah,
I want to.
They played. What did they play? They were playing like I can't remember. I didn't end up watching it, but
watch it anyway.
yeah, he did some stream with Fat Man Falling not too long
I-
ago.
to give
need
Jake one man band credit, I actually expect Jake to despise this.
Yeah.
He
I
probably
actually
will.
think
He's
I-
been-
His reviews are just
Yeah.
like as long as a podcast.
His reviews are terrible. His reviews are terrible. They don't make sense. He talks about so much stuff that doesn't matter. But
I can
I
barely
did
I do like Jake though. It's just
I can
I
barely
don't.
I,
I
can
can't
barely
do-
sit through our
I just don't have a lot of time. I have time to do the podcast and whatever.
I
I can barely
personally
sit
can't.
through our podcast, and I'm the one who records them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
can't
do not
stand
have that
Jake
kind of
for-
attention span.
I can't stand Jake
That's
for
why
a
like I'm
myriad of
snacking
reasons.
throughout the entire podcast every week.
I'll be honest. I like some of Jake's Volume 3 theory videos. Those are
Oh, yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So here's.
But I did actually watch one of Jake's videos recently, and I don't like him, and I don't like his reviews. But he actually did notice a lot of the issues that we pointed out, and it was mostly negative from the parts that I watched when he was reviewing. I want to say it was episode 11 or episode 10 or something like that. So
Okay.
that's why I'm hoping he's going to hate this episode too. Which it does
So-
kind of matter if guys like him
or Murder
are
of Birds,
just
like especially Murder of Birds. If Murder of Birds starts becoming more critical, they can't ignore that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they cannot ignore that. They can. Hopefully, they will be willing to listen to that, to him at least, since
Yeah, I'm not asking for Murder Birds to be like more hypercritical because he's a reaction channel. That's not his thing. That's
Yeah.
not what he does.
I just
It's when-
wanted
it's
to
when
feel
he does
cheated.
it's when
Yeah,
he does
people-
like 5-hour long streams where he just restates the. That's where I draw the issue with Murder Birds, and that's when that's like what I kind of called him out on before.
okay.
So
Well,
here.
yeah,
So
was those 5-hour streams that are just
So-
I can't do it.
Besides the fact that
So-
reactions are dumb, but you know.
I like him
Well,
sometimes.
reaction channels.
Yeah.
You all know my opinion on reaction channels in general.
so
You don't like him.
Didn't you do a reaction video? Doesn't it make you a reaction channel?
If I ever actually become a reaction channel, kill me.
Okay.
I have the
I-
means
I-
to do so, but then that
I-
means I'll lose my right to own firearms, so I'm not going to do it.
You're like, no.
But so let's. Okay.
I know a few ways to kill you without a firearm.
So let's. I think we're pretty much done, like talking about this episode
Yeah.
for the most
Yeah.
part. So
Well,
let's.
I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to say, but
Yeah,
Oh, no.
I'm opening up the file where I have all the screenshots to see if there's anything else I want to like point out.
I think
So-
I pretty much talked about it though. That like I don't know, Raven. Like I said again, Raven stolen a major kill from Team. Has potentially stolen a major kill from Team RWBY here, which
I know.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. but-
Weakest freaking cliffhanger this entire volume.
Oh yeah.
They've been doing.
Um,
They're doing too much of this
I mean,
cliffhanger.
I
It's
kind
pissing
of
me off.
already addressed that a little bit with like, leading into this volume's finale, leading into that volume's finale. But yeah, Yang, why Yang? Not I get it from a character standpoint because she's like gonna confront
It's her
Raven
mom.
one-on-one.
Yeah.
But last episode, the reason why Nora was telling Yang to go is because she was the only one who wasn't like completely preoccupied with something. RWBY was down, Weiss was down, Nora
Yeah.
was like watching over them, Rin was helping with whatever he was doing. He kind of disappeared. Same with Crow. Like everyone else was busy except Yang, who was just standing there for a little bit after Weiss got taken down, and they were like going down the
Yeah.
elevator. Um, but to her knowledge, when she jumps down that hole,
She's going after the three most
she's
powerful
going
people in
yeah,
that building.
yeah, the Fall Maiden, the Spring Maiden, and Raven. That's what Yang is in Yang said. Why wasn't it Ruby? Or better yet, why not both? Why not
Yeah.
actually have
Ruby and
teamwork?
Yang.
Yeah,
And listen, she's up
coulda,
now.
yeah, she could have used
Yeah,
that
leave
speed
Emerald,
semblance of her that
Mercury,
she
and
has.
yeah,
Yeah.
leave Emerald, Mercury, and Hazel, and Lionheart to Juniper, Crow, and Oscar.
Ruby still has not used her semblance since the Geist fight.
This hurts. This hurts. This actually hurts.
Unless she used it against like the Nuclavia, and I just don't remember. But as far as I'm remembering, she hasn't
I don't
used it
think
since the Geist fight.
feel like she
Yeah, no, not really. No. Yeah.
She's mostly pogo sticking with it, but
So okay, I think
Yeah.
let's use this as a segue into the next part, and I want all of y'all to check the private voice chat too, also, and get y'all's opinion too, if we should do that in there. So, what does
I'd say we can-
what does Yang hope to accomplish by Takno Jutsuing Raven at this point?
I'm not even sure she plans on talking no jutsuing her.
She just does Yang just plan on fighting her mom?
Maybe.
yeah,
Right,
there's
no,
that,
I
or
think
she
it's
could
just-
literally just lock Raven in there. Like,
Whatever's gonna happen. I'm cutting out.
I'm
So-
seeing you.
So here's the thing though.
Well, my screen is frozen.
We can still hear you
yeah,
just fine.
okay.
Yeah, we
So,
can hear you.
And the slideshow's going. Oh, there we go. Okay. My background was refreshing. It does that every
Okay.
it does that every couple hours.
So,
But anyway. But what I was wanting to say. Oh, you guys are frozen again.
We're seeing you.
Okay. Is that Cinder's gonna end up not being dead, and while Raven is distracted with Yang, she's gonna grab the relic and get out of there.
That's probably the best they could do.
Or the Seer Grim like does some
Again, like-
shenanigans bullshit and then just makes off with it.
the question is, like, we're winning too good right now. We need some Grim or Tyrion or something like that at this moment.
Oh yeah, the Grimoire
Oh,
thing.
Yeah, the Grimoire thing. We
I
forgot
know,
about that.
shocking, right? But
Not
yeah.
even kidding, you just did it again. Even with the Grim thing you had, I completely forgot that the Grim exists in this universe. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, they were only
Yeah,
in
that
the
again.
second episode of this volume.
Yep.
The second episode. Yep.
So let's I
No,
think
no, Weiss's semblance does not count.
so let's make a grocery list here.
I
of-
forgot. Let's put it this way. I forgot that thing was a Grim.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah,
I'm not,
exactly.
and I'm not joking. I really thought that was a thing she killed. Not even saying Grim. Literally thought, oh yeah, that was the thing she killed. Why can she pull? Why can she pull him like that?
so
Why
here's
she took that
Yeah.
dress? Ah!
So here's the thing. Let's create a small little grocery list of what the next volume of what this episode what episode 14 has to accomplish here. Episode 14 will have to give us an idea of what's coming. Obviously, the end of volume 4, we're like, okay, we are now in the Mistral arc proper.
Okay, can I go first real quick then?
Yeah.
I'm
So
still waiting for my
like
boss to stay apart.
just get just like think of just the grocery list. What is the grocery list of things that has to be accomplished here?
Okay, so the first point I have to make is that they cannot save it completely. This episode was so terrible, and this volume in general has been so terrible that the show is fucked at this point. But if they can make it less fucked, this is what they need to do. Adam needs to get up, even if this is basically a retcon. He needs to get up and he needs to start fighting people. He needs to somehow reveal that he has way more reinforcements somewhere, and they need to come in and tear apart all of the random Faunus people. and kick their asses and kill them basically, and
Or
make
I had emergency backup bombs the entire time.
yeah, and make the cops irrelevant as well because again, cops.
Why bother?
Fucking
Just why bother?
Fucking why now? That's a thing. It doesn't make any sense. So that they need to do that. They need to make all of those things irrelevant somehow, even if it's like the crappiest retcon ever. They need to make those things irrelevant, and they need to make Adam matter.
Yeah.
With only one episode left, though, I don't think there's enough left to make the Adam versus Blake fight really happen. I don't want to see that even this one because it's still gonna. If they do it this volume, it's still gonna be a letdown. To be perfectly honest, they need Adam to regain some dignity and strength, and they need to retcon the fact that he looks like a bitch in this episode. They
Ilya,
need him to be
Ilya
scared.
dies saving Blake.
Yeah,
he should
exactly.
decapitate
Yes.
Ilya.
Yes.
Just lop her head off.
Yes,
Please
that
no.
would be.
Please
that
no.
would be
No,
amazing,
another one of
actually.
my cute
Or
anime
Giras.
waifus.
No,
Rick,
you're
Giras.
our son. You're our son. Don't do it to Ilya.
Either way, they need Adam to regain his menacing nature. They need to make him a threat again, and
Yeah.
they need the heroes to lose somehow. So in order to do that, basically the thing about Cinder needs to happen, where it's still dumb that they made it look like she died. They did that. They pulled that off again, and it's still dumb that it was Raven fighting her. But they need her to come back in the next episode. As I think it was Media who mentioned it, or somebody mentioned it first, but I agree with that. They need her to come back in the next episode and kill Raven, basically, fuck Yang up, and get out there and start tearing shit up, basically. And
RWBY saves the day. I would be fine with that.
And RWBY saves the day, but only just barely. Basically, get back on track. And what did we want this volume? What did they even say they were going to do this volume?
Bossing say. Yeah.
And they fucking didn't, because that was the greatest season of television probably ever. And I've watched a lot of good live action shows too, by the way, including like Peaky Blinders and shit like that. And I still say that the volume 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender is the greatest season of television ever made. And they didn't do that for us, but they needed to get as close to that as they can by basically doing that kind of double take thing where
maybe they need to actually capture Ruby.
Yes,
or RWBY needs to be captured at the end of this.
We need something like that. We need the heroes to lose again, because there's no stakes right now. They've completely taken away the stakes. What we kind of need is like
I want a Pyrrhic victory. I still want a Pyrrhic victory for the heroes. I think they are due for a victory, but it needs to be earned. They need to actually do something.
They have earned nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Like,
why I want them
where
to
the fuck is
the victory?
Where the fuck is Watson his killbots?
Yeah.
Like,
Like, he
the
wants
si-
to show up or something with some white fang, and that's what, like, Deus Ex Machina's the bad guys winning. Because I don't want a Pyrrhic victory simply because they haven't earned anything at all. They've earned absolutely nothing.
Or I'll be honest, I'd be fine if no one wins.
Yeah.
Like no one gets the relic. Fuck. Okay, so this is my grocery list here. So here's the what if. So there still is that Seer Grim floating around somewhere. The Seer Grim could be like, oh no, watch me. It like goes Allah Akbar, and then it just like tears open like a Grim portal, and Grim are just like spilling in from all over the place.
I would not mind this at all.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm good with that.
They're just terrifying to think about.
And let's make this clear, guys, and to everybody watching. I think that's still kind of not good. Actually, it's still a retcon, and it's still kind of a Deus Ex Machina thing.
Yeah, there's no way to fix this without a retcon.
But
Yeah,
It would make it a whole lot more.
It would make it a whole lot more interesting.
It'd still make it better than what they're doing right now. I think that's all the stuff that we're thinking of right now.
honestly, at this point, I might even be okay if they ignore fucking his
what?
gut.
Ignored what?
Ignore what? You cut out.
Yeah, you kind of.
Sorry, at this point, I might be okay if they ignore the fact that Hazel has a giant hole in his gut because it would mean he's not being jobbed out. Like, I would be okay with that bullshit at this point. But
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. That's how bad things are. That we would prefer that kind of level of bullshit to the bullshit that we're getting.
Yeah.
So here's
Anyway.
And I agree with you, Robert. I would prefer that
Yeah.
because we need tension. We need villains.
the
Yeah.
logistical nightmare. So this is something
Too many
I've
heroes,
messaged.
not enough villains, and all the
I've-
villains get jobbed out. They jobbed out the Grim in Volume 2. Volume 3, the villains were actually a threat. Volume 4, they kind of jobbed out the Nuclavi. Like, yes, it was the most dangerous Grim we had seen up to that point, like, by a
Yeah.
large margin.
Yeah.
But
The
it still
only
got
Grim to knock out
still got-
anyone's aura, but
it
still it
got
only
taken
did
out
it.
by 4 kids. Like,
Yeah.
So here's
Uh,
so
Who,
here's-
who were then
hope-
jobbed out to Mercury and Emerald. So
My
yeah,
hope for the Nuclavi was that they just survived and got away. That was what I was hoping.
maybe yeah.
so
but
here's
it-
so here's
I,
a
the-
here's,
I remember in the podcast, like, my hope for the Nuclavi fight was that RWBY ends up killing it with Silver Eyes.
Oh yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah,
So-
okay, that's your thing. Forget him. I haven't
so here's
done with
so,
it. What were you saying, High Power?
so here's the thing. We got to think of first like the logistical nightmare of the bad guys will get their final fuck you for the end of this volume. I have a feel like it's gonna happen. The question is like how they're going to do it.
What is that fuck you going to be?
What is that fuck you? So here's another fun thought too. Also, so since Cinder absorbed like a fraction of Raven's power, if Raven dies from the logic and the rules that we have established right now, all
You'd
the
seek
power
out
will
Blake's
end up
power.
going to Cinder.
Possibly.
Possibly. More than likely. But then they could just be like, oh, the arm was so stretched out and it didn't happen long enough, so like it doesn't really count. Like,
And again,
So-
and also again, like, what does that, or, I don't know, what exactly would that mean? Does that just mean bigger fireballs now? But yeah.
Yeah, what does having like an extra seasonal made powers actually mean? So
But yeah.
so like here's the, so I'm assuming Yang is gonna try to talk is either gonna fight Raven or try to talk her down from doing like just be like okay just walk away. So is Raven going to try to go to Raven and just like Alex Jones her ass and drop like basic assault like red pill knowledge bombs on her at this point to try to win her over? Like
On Yang? Yeah.
Yeah,
what's the
keep
point?
them
And then we obviously know right now that Yang isn't interested in listening, but if she she might listen now. It's like who knows? But like if Raven gets the relic,
Maybe drop Ozpin's the reason Summer Rose died or something like that. Who knows?
yeah, like Raven needs to drop like a massive knowledge bomb on
Yeah.
on
On
Yang. And then like it could be such a massive knowledge bomb where Yang is like I can't even I can't even face Ruby and Ozpin like with this knowledge. Like
Or she
can't.
tells RWBY and she tells Ozpin to take a hike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or that too. So
That would be great. I would. Oh man.
I'm still hoping for that.
and then here's the other question too. Also, is like, where the fuck are we going after this volume? This is something I brought up like episodes 11 and 12. Where
Yeah.
the abstract fuck are we going this volume? Are we going to
Yeah.
stay in Mistral?
Yeah, it's like when we thought. Well, yeah, when we thought that Weiss was gonna have lasting. When we were thinking, maybe
Yeah.
Weiss's injury is gonna have lasting damage. Maybe she'll come. Maybe they'll have to go to Atlas for her to recover. But clearly, that's not the case.
I feel like next time we Globetrot, it will be an Atlas, just because that's less character
Probably.
models that they have to make.
Yeah. We can get
Yeah.
more of
Hopefully.
Iron Daddy.
And then like, who knows? Like Atlas might find like the Winter Maiden or something. And like, here's the thing though. Like, are we gonna get you?
They
Because
probably
this is
know who the Winter Maiden is, but
So here's the thing too. Also, so I brought this up in the new episode discussion, which is a perfectly good reason why you should join our Discord and the text channels, and especially actively shitpost in the shitposting channel, and join us on the voice discussions. Also, I need more people to play Escape from Tarkov with.
I
There's no
actually
one on
tried
this-
to download it, but I can't access my email right now.
Oh, cool. Well, welcome to suffering. That is that game. So, so here's here's the thing though. So if we aren't going somewhere else, so I brought this up. So I feel like this like they are ending this volume to to try and like reboot the entire series. They've basically wiped the slate clean with all of like the bads that we're used to. Adam's been jobbed. Cinder's been jobbed. Like Cinder's so fucked up at this point that she'll probably have to spend the whole next volume just recovering from the ass kicking she experienced.
More grim parts.
Yeah, literally more grim parts. Like Cinder just needs to be like an eldritch monstrosity by the end of this volume. Like all that's left is
grim
like
eye. She'll have a grim eye, it just like glows, whatever.
yeah. So like, are we gonna get are we gonna get new villains? Because that's what it sounds like based off of the stuff from the like the card game that they're putting out.
Given how bad they fucked over these three, maybe they should.
I kind of want
So-
Dr. Merlot to come up. honestly.
Dude, I would love Dr. Merlot to become
Sure, why
to
not?
become like actual canon. That would be
Mutated Grim? Yeah, hello.
like
Maybe. Yeah.
so. I mean, like that's like it honestly feels like they're trying to like reset the series with this episode. Like, but they don't even do like they're not even doing it on purpose. It just happens. Like for me watching this episode, it's like you've literally reset everything to zero. Like basically the characters could start like are starting like everything's starting over at this point. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. Like
No, it doesn't.
this isn't a good reset. And I think y'all will agree to me to a degree that this episode feels like it's a reset for the entire series.
Yeah, a little bit.
Fuck me if they decide to stay at Haven and go back to school.
Oh my god, that's the dropping. The,
Oh god,
that's
we're gonna
the-
get Scarlet, Neptune, and it's just gonna be no.
If
That
we,
would
Please
be
if
that
we
would
go
be-
No.
if we go back to school for the next volume, this is not good. Because I'm
Media.
worried that the next
Media.
volume I'm worried that the next volume is going to be like, oh, we have to, fix Mistral after it got all busted up and broken, even though nothing blew up or anything. You know, what's his name? You know, Lionheart's in prison and stuff. It's like they'll just find someone else to be the headmaster of the damn school.
They just did the Kakashi just point crow.
if that's what happens, you might not see me in any more podcasts.
You might not see me.
Yeah, if they do that, the show is dead. to
I
me.
said this on the Discord, but if I wasn't so professionally invested in the show, it would get one more chance to keep my interest before I drop it. This would be the last shot.
Yeah.
I would not come back for volumes. I probably would not come back for volume 6, no matter the quality of next episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's got one more chance to keep me overall positive on the series as a whole. That's the
And
thing.
it can't just be mediocre.
episode-
it has
if
to
this
be
episode-
fucking
If this
good.
episode is bad, this entire series is bad. If it's good, then this volume alone is bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's no
yeah.
saving this volume. Right now, the entire series is at stake.
Yeah.
And-
Depending.
Am I going
Yeah,
to
what they do with
be-
this next episode is gonna make or break the show.
Am
And
I
if
going,
Green
am I
Eagle
going
is
to
good-
continue being overall positive and overall like really wanting to enjoy the show, or am I going to come into Volume 6 looking to tear into it, looking
Yeah.
to just rip it apart?
God, you become
That's what's
fat
on,
now.
that is what is at stake with this next episode.
Here's what's at
Either
stake.
way, there's no saving this volume.
Here's what's at stake for me. Okay, this is how this show. The next episode can't even just be decent. It can't even be passable. It has to actively fix what they fucked up, which
Actually show teamwork.
which I don't think
Yeah.
it
Actually
can
make the
do
villains a
because
threat.
because that would mean they would have to know what they fucked up, and they clearly don't know what they fucked up, and they wouldn't have realized it at that point.
Yeah.
Here's what's at stake for me. Do I even give a shit about Renora anymore?
That's saying something.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
That is
I
a
even-
major statement. You don't
do
have to
I-
say anything else, dude. We know you. You don't have to
Right?
say
Like,
anything
for
else. It's
me,
literally just like
Yeah.
Do I
For
even
me-
keep watching the show to find out what happens? Do I even do that?
like
Yeah.
for me, it's just gonna be if the ending of this episode teases me enough to want to see the next volume. That is the
Yeah.
key aspect of it there. And if we're going back to the school setting, which I hope that's not what's happening. It's if we're going back to the school setting, like I'll probably watch the show, but I mean, like if y'all would want me on the
That
podcast,
was the benefit of Volume 2, is that as bad as Volume 2 was and as bad as the conclusion was, it left a lot open to where I wanted to see things answered.
happened
I
next.
wanted to see what Cinder was up to. I wanted to see
Yeah.
Crow. I wanted to see this tournament that they've been hyping up. A lot of that ended up disappointing me, but a lot of Volume 3 ended up impressing me as well. Even though I
did
think
Crow
Volume
show up in
3
Volume
Yeah.
2?
No. No, but they were hyping him up. They were hyping up big time. You can see a silhouette throughout
Yeah.
Burning the Candle, which I argue is
Yeah.
arguably one of the better episodes of the entire series. But
Yeah.
I wanted to see that, even though I think Volume 3 was actually the most predictable volume as far as like what ended up happening. I think it was the most
Yeah.
predictable. But at the same
Oh, yeah.
time,
I watched. I was.
Ruby was at a point to where like they kind of needed to be it was at that point, like I've mentioned this I mentioned this about
Yeah.
Red versus Blue season 15, where like they got to a point where there's only one path. There's only one way to do things. There's only
Yeah.
one way to even be passable, and they took that route. They took that route with Volume 3. Red versus Blue took that route with season 15 up until like kind of jobbing out the villains at the end.
Yep.
And they kind of need to open that door up again for leading into Volume 6.
Yeah. There needs to be. Yeah. They need to have somewhere to go. Yeah. Maybe I don't know. Maybe this is my grocery list. Is that Raven reveals what happened to Summer Rose? It's about Ozpin, and it's something that I know
cannot
I
be
keep saying.
explained well.
Yeah, that he cannot explain. It's something unforgivable, and it leads them to Atlas.
Yang
Because,
needs to be told.
I know, I keep saying, and I hate Ozpin this volume, and I hate Oscar and stuff like that. But I really do feel like that needs to happen so that we know, okay, RWBY is back in the driver's seat. RWBY is the protagonist again, and so that's one thing I think they need.
I don't know. There was
Cinder and Hazel need to be alive, and hopefully Adam needs to actually get in a good fight. Even if he goes down, like he needs to take someone with him, someone important with him.
It's my memory might be a little bit fuzzy, but there was somebody that once said a long time ago that Ozpin, and back in Volume 4, actually, that
Yeah.
Ozpin should have stayed dead and that Oscar shouldn't exist. And
It was you.
Okay, yeah, stop being facetious.
Oh, that's right.
We
That's right. It
know.
was me.
We know. Yes, he
And
definitely.
guess who's right? This motherfucker is right as fuck.
Yeah.
And here's, let's be honest.
I still think they could have
I
made it
don't-
work.
I don't want to be this right,
Yeah.
but I'm this right.
I still think they could have made it
This
work.
volume
In
could
fact,
not have proven me more right.
bit of an announcement. I do have at least a rough recording of my honest look at Ozpin already recorded. I'm not going to start editing it or anything until the finale, because we might find out something and I might have to record more lines for it later.
Yeah,
But
that'd
at
be
this point, like, I don't think we will.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is,
Yeah.
media.
So I might
they-
as well have recorded.
I
it already.
would have agreed with you that they could have made it work if that was if they were better writers. If I knew that they were better writers, I would have been more
Yeah.
hopeful. Like, for example,
I
like,
still think they should have stuck Ozpin and Jean, or Crow.
yes, I agree. Or just have him dead. That
Or have him stay dead. Yeah.
would have been the best.
So
And
yeah,
I
they
agree.
gain nothing by
I'm
sticking
looking
in him in some
forward.
random nobody.
I'm
Yeah.
looking
I mean,
forward
here's-
to
here's the
having
thing,
that
here's the
come
thing.
out.
Now that we're here at this point where the show's basically ruined, let me gloat for a little bit again, because
No.
what was I saying about one? Osmond should have stayed dead, and Oscar's a shitty character, right? and it's going to take away focus from the main characters that matter. And that's exactly what fucking happened. They sat around and did nothing. There is no main character anymore. They're waiting for things to happen to them. The entire show is just waiting for everything to happen.
Yeah.
All
And the
stuff
main
that-
conflict is Salem versus Ozpin. Not
Yeah.
Salem versus RWBY, Salem versus Ozpin. That's a problem.
and we don't care about that. And so that's basically all the stuff that I knew and basically said was going to be a problem by introducing a character like Oscar. I'm not saying that introducing Oscar is what's wrong with the show, but it's the mindset of introducing a character like that has ruined the show. Because at this point, this episode is so bad that like Oscar / Ozpin had very little to do with what's actually wrong with this episode. Like Hazel is he's a letdown, not really because of Ozpin. They could have had something else, like, you know what I mean? So I'm not even gonna blame Ozpin for that. But it's the everything that's been happening in this volume so far. That attitude and that logic of bringing that character in was an issue, and they are not good enough writers to make something like that actually work and keep the focus on the proper character.
This
That's
episode,
why the second that Oscar showed up, my brother and I both said to each other, "Fuck no." We literally, the scene that we saw him, you didn't say a single word, and we're like, "God damn it, not a new character." And look what's happened since. I could not have been more right.
Yeah.
So
And I
here's
didn't want that, but that's what happened.
so here's
That
here's
feel
the,
when you realize that Lionheart did not show up in between episodes 2 and this last stretch of episodes with Haven.
so here's
Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That would literally
Holy
be like
shit.
that would literally be like the entire like upper class of the Earth Kingdom just disappearing for 90% of season 2 of Avatar.
Yeah.
so
Like,
here's
a
here's the
major
thing.
point of that series.
Here's
What's
the
the thing,
thing
Aaron?
with this
Oh, yeah.
episode, and I'm looking forward to all the thumbs down of this. This episode is a vertical slice of everything that, like, writing wise, that can go wrong in a series that's being produced. Like,
Yeah.
whenever it comes to something that Rooster Teeth,
Even animation wise, there's so many animation errors with characters just teleporting all around and phasing through each other.
Yeah.
so like here's the thing too
You
also
know,
like
there's that,
are
you
they
know there's that phrase, jumping the shark?
That's
yes.
when a show outlives its welcome.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so. But this is like, people have bastardized it. This is like the bastardized version of that. Where
so
this is the episode where the show kills itself.
So here's the thing though, like are they just prepared to like throw all their eggs, like will Genlock replace RWBY as in like their star show? Like
I
here's
heard it's
this
gonna
is,
be
I don't know.
political. I don't know if
This-
people might be interested in that, but it's not generally my cup of tea.
so here's the question though. This is what I really want to know about this volume whenever it's all said and done, is like I'm legitimately curious what the viewership of this volume is actually going to be like. I am legitimately curious. Because there's a lot of hype that rolled into this volume, and
I
I'm
know there's a way to look at like YouTube analytics. I'm not sure how to on other people's videos, but I would literally be willing to look at a couple of the numbers from like volumes 3 and volume 4, and then look at the equivalent numbers like the first week it was uploaded for volume 5 episodes.
because I'm curious. So here's the thing, though, because they don't
Yeah.
show a view count on the Rooster Teeth website.
Yeah, they just show like the number of positive mods they get on there. Yeah.
So this next episode, for me, as long as it like gives me like as long as it teases me with something like Raven has to drop some like knowledge bombs on Yang.
Yeah.
Like at this point, like Raven honestly just needs to like just sit down in front of the like I'm assuming Yang's probably gonna want to fight Raven, and Raven's just like, I'm not even gonna fight you. I'm just gonna sit down and talk, and you're gonna listen, whether
Mhm.
you like it or not. So
Yeah.
like if she talks and then like I don't care if it's like if we have a 20-minute episode and like 7 of those 20 minutes is just Raven expositioning dumping on all of us, as long as it's interesting and as long as it like points to something interesting that will potentially happen in the next volume.
Yeah.
Because if we're going back to the school setting for the next volume,
Please no.
it's gonna hurt. It's
Yeah.
gonna hurt.
Yeah, that is one thing that definitely cannot happen. They cannot go back to the school setting. They need to head to a new kingdom at the end of this volume.
Or like hell, like they could even
You seem
stay. They could even stay in Mistral, and they're like, okay, we're gonna stay in Mistral, but we're gonna plan our counterattack against Salem. I would be perfectly fine with them deciding to be like, okay, now it's time for us to go on the offensive. If
and they
that's
mess
what they're
around with the underground part of the Mistral area.
yeah, and if that's the
Maybe,
plan for the
yeah.
next volume, where they decide like, hey, we're gonna go on the offensive, that would be perfectly fine in my book. I would like the fact that I would prefer if that's what they're gonna do the next volume is like they go on the offensive. That would be preferred.
Maybe.
But it's like it. This episode wounded me.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah,
It
but Cinder.
legitimately
Yeah.
hurts.
Yeah. But Cinder and Hazel need to be alive, and something game-changing needs to happen. Preferably something that removes Ozpin from the picture.
Yeah, preferably something that gets Osktard the fuck away. And
Yeah.
that's...
And I don't know. I'm gonna throw this theory out here. I don't know if it's, or I don't know. People have been talking about how with the episode last week, Jean figured out the episode where Jean discovered his semblance was aired on the same day that Joan of Arc was born, and then the finale is going to air on the same day that Joan of Arc was declared nobility. If Jean ends up having some sort of, I don't know, if Jean ends up having some sort of link to like the King of Vale or something like that, or something like that, I would not mind. But it probably would not be enough. But it would not be enough to save this volume for me.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm a huge Jean fanboy, but
No,
that's something I wouldn't mind.
Can be here. Like John's my favorite character, but like I could see it because they could find out something.
And
like,
it could even be what Tyrion was interested in.
If Tyrion shows up and he actually says, "Oh, Johnny boy, yada yada."
Who knows? But anyway, so that was just a last little thing.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't mind, but yeah. I don't know.
We need Tyrion and
Killbots from Watts.
Killbots and Watts to show up and turn the tide back towards the favor of the villains, because
But yeah, and the villains need to find. But yeah, and even if the villains retreat and mostly lose, they do need a final fuck you for the end of this, so that they can still feel like a threat. Probably need the relic. Honestly, they probably need to get the relic.
yeah, they do need to get the relic. The bad guys need to get the fucking relic.
Yeah,
That is exactly.
Or no one can get the relic. I'd be fine with that too. Also,
maybe.
Well,
Either the bad guys need to get the relic, or maybe kill Raven and Chibi and like Cinder.
I think Raven needs to die. I think they've ruined Raven's characters. That's another thing we haven't brought up. This volume ruined Raven to the point where I just want her dead.
Yeah. Who knows? I would also something I wouldn't mind is
actually talked about that last week.
Yeah.
And one possible theory that I have, people have been, I don't know. They claimed that Neo was going to show up and piss us all off. We still haven't seen that. Maybe what she does
that's
is
volume 6.
Oh, is that what they said, or?
No, it's probably volume 6.
What
would be hilarious?
Something I could see is that she shows up and revives Cinder or something like that. That might be what pisses everyone off.
They're once again pretending like they're building up to something when they're actually not.
What would be hilarious is that Jock hires Neo to impersonate Weiss just so we could save face. That would be perfectly fine with me in my book.
Amazing. That would be amazing. I would love that.
I actually kind of would too, probably.
I would love that.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if any of us.
Even if it's for like just an episode next volume.
Even if it's like really, really transparent or something like that, like you see the fake eyes, and that she's like way shorter than Weiss is supposed to be.
Well, Weiss isn't that tall, but yeah, they could.
Well, yeah, but like it's just different eyes and a side ponytail, but everyone's all like, You are way too short to be Weiss.
When did Weiss grow a few cup sizes?
Yeah. Yeah. She shows up and it's all like, okay, those clothes do not fit you.
For better or for worse. Oh
Mm.
God.
Yeah. So are we ready to
Whatever.
kind of wrap up here?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Because
Dude, you have any-
Does anyone have any? Does anyone
Did you
have any
have
thoughts
anything
of?
stock? I don't
no,
know.
I mean, I already said all my final thoughts. I do want to say, like, this is the RWBY podcast, and we did have some other RWBY news come out this week. Anyone got any thoughts on the Blaze Blue cross tag battle controversy?
What? No,
I
I
don't
actually
see how-
I don't even
because,
know what the
Blake's paid
controversy
DLC.
is.
So
I've been
yeah,
doing-
yeah. So
He looks
I've
good.
been
He
According-
needs some more polishing up, but like it's fighters. If you haven't caught on to that this has been a thing with all fighters for a while now. It's been like that with Street Fighter. It's been that way
Half the
with
cast-
fucking Blaze
half-
Blue already.
half the roster is locked behind a DLC wall, and the thing is, they've already shown off a lot of the characters that are going to be DLC. So there's like no excuse except for that they want to pinch more pennies out in order
Just
to have
just
a
get the
full
season
roster.
pass character.
Hey.
Just get the season pass. All the characters are yours. It doesn't really matter.
Can I just say as a Melee fan that this is fantastic because it just makes Melee look better because Melee is a 15 that like
Oh, dude,
that
Ultimate
that
Ninja Storm
Nintendo
has like
doesn't
80
support.
characters.
No, but
Nice.
I'm serious though. Like Melee's stock has basically continued to rise, and it's looked better, and the competitive community continues to be amazing. While traditional fighting games have gone downhill because all of the releases have been shit. Now that's the same thing that happened to Melee because the subsequent releases of Smash have all been garbage, to the point where one of the biggest proponents and casters of other Smash games admitted that Melee is the best of all the Smash games, and
Yeah.
because they broke away earlier,
I like Smash 4.
They
We've
stay-
had
they
we
stay-
have this argument all the time though.
they stay independent while the traditional fighting communities are stuck with being supported by the companies that make the games, and all the recent games basically have been garbage that actually matter. Street Fighter V, everybody hated it for the most part, at least. And then a former Smash player won one of the biggest tournaments, by the way, for that, which is really a massive embarrassment. It's some like Puerto Rican guy.
Street Fighter V was a disaster.
Or it was a Marvel vs. Capcom. It was
new
one of
Marvel
the two.
vs. Capcom game is hot
Is
garbage.
trash also. And then
Tekken 7 was a step in the right direction because Tekken 6 was that. Tekken
Yeah.
6 was the Street Fighter 5 of Tekken.
Gotcha.
So
yeah.
Tekken 7
The
was
guy-
like a step in the right direction. Injustice is kind of almost its a different genre of fighting games because
Yeah.
it's much more story based.
Yeah,
Same thing
the
with
guy-
Mortal Kombat now. Like they're
guy-
not about the mechanics anymore. It's
The
about
guy
the
who won Capcom
characters.
Cup for Street Fighter V is a former Smash 4 player. And that's not even the good Smash game. That's not even the good Smash game. That's how in shambles right now.
Oh, that's the good. That is the good Smash game. It's not the.
No, it's not.
It's not the best Smash game though.
It's better than
one?
Brawl.
It's good.
I'm only talking about for competitive fighting. I'm only talking about in a competitive sense.
In which
It's-
case, Melee would be the only one that. Really
Yeah,
pulls up.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying Smash 4 is a bad game otherwise, but it is a bad competitive game. That's all I'm saying.
Probably
My
why
point is-
probably why I like it so much.
A former Smash 4 player won Capcom Cup for Street Fighter V.
I like my Anmu fighters. All right, leave me alone.
Yeah,
Dude, the
I
anime-
I have my
Anmu
Blaze
fighters.
Blue, I've got my guilty gear. I've got my melty blood. I'm okay.
So
Yeah,
I
did guilty.
I
did
didn't even
Guilty
know about
Gear.
that because I've been too busy getting ready for Genesis Melee, which is this coming weekend. Very hyped for that. I'll probably forget to watch the RWBY episode, which I have for the past 2 or 3 weeks.
Fighter Z looks really good.
And then I've actually been watching Overwatch League, which I don't know why putting teams in locations somehow made Overwatch way more compelling to watch, but it somehow did because I actually don't hate it. They
I
basically
was
made it
gonna
like a
say they're
sports-
doing some magic with Overwatch League. Like
They
they really
did.
are. I
I'm
give
not
them.
I'm not gonna lie, it's actually fun to watch, and I never liked watching Overwatch competitive before this, but now I actually for some reason
Maybe it's the team specific skins.
I think it is.
Maybe, just a little bit.
Well, just the
I
team
need to
doing
update my
make-
Overwatch shit.
turning them into teams like sports teams somehow made it more compelling. I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but that worked.
Yeah, I mean,
it honestly worked.
we're
I
probably
feel like the
not
best
gonna-
way to
You know
make
what it is?
esports
It
better.
made it easy to follow. That's what it did. It made it
See-
super easy to follow, and so you just can watch and you know what's happening. You know what
I
matters.
feel a lot of esports would benefit from like WWE wrestlifying it too. Also,
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel that, like they need to do that, and I think the first like big Overwatch tournament, like they tried to do that, where they're like, okay, whenever you walk out on the stage, you need to do like a pose or something, and then the random chubby Asian players like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get
Anyway,
on there.
so as far as Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, I'm not sure if I'm gonna get it.
I'm not.
I'm not even that big of a fighting game fan. Like I'll throw down on some Smash or some Tekken, but I got Guilty Gear because it was like $5 on Steam
I
during
mean,
like Labor Day. That's the only
I'll
reason
bet
why I
on
even have
Street
Guilty
Fighter
Gear.
matches whenever Evo's going on, but that's
But,
But
about
what
it.
happened to our idea where we were gonna pod,
Yeah,
like we
yeah,
were gonna like
we were going to like
stream, we were
I
gonna
might
stream it all together, just
yeah
shit of
yeah
each other.
maybe I don't know. We'll wait to see how that plays out. I would love to do something like that though.
Do something like what?
Like
We were gonna
like
like
a
what's
like a
the name of the
stream
game?
like a stream or a let's play with us playing cross tag.
You know,
You
getting
guys will
involved with
kick
the
my
viewers, getting involved
ass.
with the viewers who have the game
Oh
too.
no,
so
you
we'd be
no,
like,
I wouldn't.
all right,
But yeah, so wrapping up since we got that, I just wanted to address that since this is the RWBY podcast
Yeah.
and that is RWBY related because half of the RWBY team is in that DLC block. Blake and Yang, I believe, are DLC only.
yeah, the characters I was actually more excited for.
That's gonna
Yeah,
piss off a lot of
I
people.
was just gonna play as like I'm not even gonna get the DLC because I was just planning on playing as Weiss. Which I would love to do in real life too. Anyway,
no.
Hey!
so if you like watching this video and you want to hear more,
Send us that fan art.
Tim. Actually, if Kitty Kirishima wants to, I'm not gonna object to that.
No, you won't.
But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. We are planning on doing a live podcast next week on Wednesday night.
So feel free to actively shitpost and derail our podcast.
I'll be keeping an eye on the stream when we do that. And I have a review mostly scripted for this episode, and I have 2 other videos planned about this episode.
Oh no.
One of them's already recorded, and the other one is more like AMV-esque. Like I don't have to record anything for it. You'll find out about that later this week. Unless it's already out by the time this podcast goes out. It depends on what I end up getting into tomorrow.
Yep.
But yeah, check out my fan fiction. Check out the Facebook page. Check out the Discord. Links are in the description. Yeah.
And I've already got my. I'm trying to get these videos in weekly, and I'm off to a good start. I've already got my script written out and recorded for my character interpretation of Miss Kobayashi from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. So yeah, look forward to that in a couple.
By
the time this comes out.
Watch that series.
Oh my
now,
God.
Ty.
Yes.
That should be out when this comes out. So yeah, I'm going to be observing her kind of as an everyman character and how she pulls that off, and really it's just does some pretty impressive stuff throughout the series. So
If you haven't watched that,
because she's like one of my favorite characters in that whole thing. So yeah, I'll be discussing that, and might also drop a little bit of trivia about Lukua. But yeah,
we know that trivia.
and what her nickname for Shota means.
Yeah.
Media.
Anyway.
If you haven't actually watched that show,
I'm not a fan of that genre. Like it never really interested
I'm
me.
normally not either, but this was one that I was on. Check this out.
Did you,
and it was
did you,
really
did you
good.
watch
It's really
did you
fucking
watch?
good.
Did you watch Nichijou?
Nope.
Oh, you didn't watch Nichijou either? Okay.
No, I've not seen a single anime from that studio.
Oh,
You
dude,
really
Kyoto
need
Kyoto
to,
Animation is my favorite. My two favorite anime of all time right now are Nichijou and Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. They're so good. And I'm generally the kind of person that gets really annoyed at like the lolly bait, waifu bait bullshit, but I actually love Kana.
I'm not going to be talking much about the
Kana is so
lolly bit,
good.
although Kana is fucking adorable.
Kana is adorable. I will protect her with my life.
Verbiage.
And I actually really like Miss Kobayashi as a character.
Oh, yeah.
That show is actually legitimately good. Like,
It's actually really good media. I highly
it's
recommend.
actually so good. It's so
Well, I'm
good.
gonna have to now in order to like not get
Yeah.
spoiled on, in order to
No,
like
that show is
contribute
so
to the
good.
conversation when Robert has his video.
Nichijou is even funnier, and it's like almost as it's basically as adorable. Like Hakase, oh my god, well that's why it's my
literally your name right now, dude.
Yeah. Hakase is like just as protection worthy as, if not more so than Kana, because she's less baity. That's why I like Hakase. She's adorable but not bait. That's why she's
Please
awesome.
don't bully Satania.
Ravioli, don't lose the dragon lollioli.
Anyone else have anything to plug? Anyone else have anything to plug?
Nope.
No.
All right, everyone.
Nothing in the socket. Nothing in the socket.
Have a
Pray
Have a
with
good
us all
night
that
and
next
pray with us that-
episode somehow saves.
at least saves the series.
And